Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right, so we're going to have to dive right into it today, guys. I'm going to try to move really fast today. So today's Dreamsnap review stream is going to be a little bit different because I still have some things I need to do. I still need to do my Dreamsnap, and I fly out early tomorrow. Today, I've been working on getting things set up for the cat sitter, getting everything tidy in the house, getting all my laundry done, because, you know, you don't want to come back from traveling to, like, more stuff to do around the house. So I did all the dishes, I did all the laundry, I tidied up everything, put everything in its home, I checked in for my flight, I cleaned out my car, I took my bike rack off the car, because I'm going to be keeping my car at the airport. It'll be cheaper than Ubering, because I'm only going to be staying for, like, 4 or 5 days. So I still have to do my Dreamsnap, and I have to get up pretty early, so I can't stay up too late. So we'll skip the usual formalities where I talk about how these reviews work, and, you know, we talk about the theme itself. We'll probably come into it a few times. So there's a lot to do, and I'm trying to get it all done in like 3 to 4 hours if I can, hopefully 3 hours. So I'm going to try to move very fast today. So if you're like, dang, Senpai was not as thorough with my review today as he usually is, it's just because I'm on a time crunch. When I get back Monday, it'll be business as usual. We'll be nice and thorough like we always are. And thank you for the support, you guys. Fallen Angel, much appreciated. Akai, thank you. Black Knight, thank you. Vox, thank you. Cambria, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you guys. Good to have you. All right, all right. Author, hello, hello. I see you over there on the YouTube chat. Welcome in. Okay, we are ready to go. So, quick recap of the theme. Oh, wait. Do I have Dreamlight to claim? Oh, it's Honeyglow Wood stuff. Yeah, we'll grab that. Okay, okay. Sorry. I just said I wasn't going to go over it, but I will. All right, Lazy Cozy Day is what we're reviewing today. It says, build and decorate a relaxed scene filled with warmth, treats, and cozy corners. Enjoy a pot of honey like Winnie the Pooh, or a bit of fine cheese like Remy on a carefree afternoon. So this is about making a relaxed scene. And with the words in the title being lazy and cozy, you know, you want it to feel very relaxing. There's a lot of ways we've discussed that you can have your avatar appear as lazy or relaxed. So we've gone over quite a bit here, quite a bit. LOTR, as always, I would try to highlight both. I would definitely try to highlight both, just because I think that'll make you a little bit more competitive. But it's not 100% necessary. You know, my recommendation is I always go above and beyond with the theme, and I think that's always kept me pretty safe in the voting phase. That way, if I do get unlucky enough to get really picky voters...
Did you see we are getting a new type of critter?
No, I have not seen that. I've been so busy today. I have not touched my computer or much social media at all. It's been a very busy day. But that's cool. That's cool. A new type of critter. That's fun. That's fun. What are you guys counting here? So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing both, but you don't absolutely have to. With Dreamsnaps, you know, it's only going to matter if you get picky voters or if you pop up against a snap that is doing those things. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most voters are like pretty easygoing, I feel. And most of the time, you're not going to be up against a really strong snap. But just to be safe, because you never know. You never know if you are going to get those picky voters. You never know if you are going to be up against a really good snap. So that's why, you know, when I make my snap tonight, which, you know, I'm hoping to try to get done because I've never missed one before, it's, you know, I'm going to try to have a sense of laziness there and a sense of relaxation. I'm trying to have both. But you don't absolutely have to do that to get 4K. You know what I mean? Left shirt, I sent you a picture of it. Oh my god, bro, Emily, you are still at it? Are we serious right now? Emily! Dang, let's go! The hype train just got completely demolished here. Emily with the 10 gifted subs. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Emily says, you know it. Much appreciated, my friend. Much appreciated. This is my last stream of the week, so thank you. Thank you for the big love. I almost never take time away from the stream. It's like really rare. There's usually a couple times a year, like when we go down to visit Jordan's family and when we go down to visit my family. That's about it. That's about it. So I will not be live Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday this week. So thank you so much for all the gifted subs yesterday and today. That is very kind of you, my friend. Very kind. Very much appreciated. He knows we're counting. He doesn't know what. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are counting. All right. Probably something to do with Dreamsnaps. Probably something to do with Dreamsnaps would be my guess. I mean, it makes sense, right? Okay, let's dive in. We got a lot to cover. So we're going to knock out the primary reviews first that came in after we did yesterday's. So first up today, it looks like we got Voxed here. My lazy day submission, is this lazy enough? I use lazy eyes, lazy villager expression, lazy makeup. Thank you for all you do. All right, let's see. Yeah, very casual. It looks very relaxed, you know. It is very relaxed. And then I do like that you have everybody kind of in a chill position. I like the foreground here with the flowers. This looks nice. And a cute little scene behind you. So yeah, you know, I think it's great. At the end of the day, you know, how this performs will come down to what you pop up against, but I think it captures the theme well. I do think being seated in a position this week is a very competitive play as well, but as we mentioned, if you are going to stand, highlighting the new Hedgehog Companion, I think, is a good play here. So yeah, I like the, you know, the lower makeup here, the cozy outfit here, and I like the villagers as well. You featured everybody very well here. So whether it's lazy enough for everybody, I can't really say. You know, there's some people out there that, like I said, will probably be very picky. But odds are you won't get those. I think most people are going to be, you know, pretty open on the choice. So it's a solid snap. It definitely has the potential for 4K. You know, we'll see. But yeah, I like the work. And like I said, strongest things about this would be foreground, background's nice, and then avatar design, along with the villagers being very relaxed, and you got some good treats in the shot. So yeah, it's looking good. Oh yeah, and Left Shark said they sent me a picture of a new companion. Hang on a second. Oh my god, that's so cute. Have you guys seen this? It's a little bear. I hope it has a unique pose. Is this going to be a free companion? Is this a free companion? I guess since they're partnering with the Canada Conservation group here, that it probably will be free. It'll probably be like a partnership, and you know, one of those things where they, you know, promote that conservation act. So it'll probably be free. I also saw you got your Switch too, Left Shark. Congrats. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Catterday Girl. This is my first time doing an indoor snap. I've seen your lighting video previously, so hopefully I did all right on that regard. Last one was taken before 6 p.m. lighting, so it wasn't as good, but I like the closeness of the shot. Appreciate your overall thoughts. Okay. Well, there are lights that will light up even if it's not 6 p.m. Oh yeah, lighting is very good here. You did a great job with that. You got some, looks like you have some lights above you here, casting some good light into the scene. It does feel very warm and cozy. I like the outfit, you know, very leisurely, no shoes. You're staying at home here. You even got Belle seated on the couch, which is nice. And we got the pets in the scene. A little bit of Remy action here. Yeah, we mentioned how Remy looks good on tables. You know, if you put him in the grass, especially tall grass, he doesn't look as good. Meadow can work. Plaza can work. But yeah, I think he looks best on tables. And if you put him towards the front, he looks like his natural size. So, good use of motifs. Some good decor in the background, too. I like that you're highlighting food here. You would be friends with Remy, so that's fun. For your other scenes, this one's pretty nice. I do like Belle reading on the side here. And then we have this one. Now, this is the third one, and I think on this one you said, last one was taken before 6 p.m. lighting. It isn't as good, but I like the closeness of the shot. Well, I mean, you can really go with any of these. The lighting is still good here, and you do have good light coming in on the table here from the window, so that actually looks rather nice. This pocket over here is a little bit darker. But my advice would be to either go with this one here or this one here. Now, the last thing I'll say is, in regards to indoor shots, I've never had an indoor shot get less than 4K, but what I've always done with my indoor shots, and what I recommend a lot of people try to do when they do indoor shots, you don't have to do this. They can still get 4K, by the way. It just depends. But I always try to show a good bit of the room, because there's going to be a lot of snaps you might be up against, especially like the outdoor variety, where the player is really highlighting their decorating skill. You're getting to see a lot of the environment. So when you go indoors, you're not going to be able to capture as much of an environment. So by showcasing a good bit more of the room, like you can always have your couch closer. You don't have to do that this week because that would require you to make the whole Dreamsnap over again. But let's say hypothetically you get your results and it's 2,500 or 1,500 or not quite what you were hoping for. Don't be afraid of indoor submissions. You don't have to avoid them. But what I've always had success with when it comes to indoor submissions is highlighting a lot of the environment, a lot of the indoor environment, just to really showcase your design talent. And voters tend to, to me, it appears voters have always appeared to, like that. Like this one was a top 20 submission. This one was ranked 19. And then we had this one was, I think, like rank... I know it was in the top 100. I can't remember if this one was a... Oh, yeah, this one was a rank 15, because I remember I got rank 15 on the very next one as well, on the very next outfit challenge. Now, this one, the room is really big, but it's made to look like Scrooge's Money Vault. That was the concept there. But when I do indoor submissions, I typically highlight a good bit of the room just to really highlight that decorating skill. And, like I said, it appears voters really do like these kinds of indoor shots. You don't always have to do this, by the way. Like I said, you can still get 4K if you're showcasing just the corner of the room. But a snap like this is going to be a lot faster and a lot easier to make. So if you're like pressed for time, you don't have to do the whole room. But if you want to do like a couch scene towards the front of the room, what you can do is you can make like a little seated area and have you guys towards the front, and then we can have things going on in the background as well. So there's ways to work it out. But that's typically what I do for my indoor shots. Not saying you absolutely have to do that, but it does tend to, work well. Femme Fatale is next. Hola, Senpai. Didn't feel good over the weekend, so I've been trying to grind out Honey Glow. Still working on getting the piglet, but one review is better than none. True, true, true. Appreciate you so much. Safe travels and have fun in Florida. Hi from Clearwater. Oh, nice. Oh, very good. Oh, I love this scene. This is super cute. And yeah, if you get Piglet, before Wednesday, or, tomorrow, I guess, right? Yeah. If you get Piglet before tomorrow and you can add him to this, great. But if not, it is what it is. Piglet would look really good over here, maybe interacting with the picnic basket or, maybe over here on the sides. I do love the way you're using these oak leaves. I've talked about these a lot this week. They're really great ground decor. They're very warm, very charming, especially in these kind of Winnie the Pooh environments. So yeah, overall, very solid job. You sealed off your build here well with the lighting, so we can't see through it. I will say, as opposed to green lighting like most forest, I do think yellow lighting will work really good since we have like the honey and the orange and the yellow trees. I do think the yellow lighting could be very nice here if you wanted to use something other than green. But you don't absolutely have to, just a fun little side thought there. But yeah, overall, very pretty. And again, love this interaction here. I think that interaction of you petting Eeyore is definitely going to help this perform even better. It's a great storytelling element. Sapphire is next. I didn't have much time and patience for this week's snap. I threw something together. Hopefully it fits the theme. Thank you for taking the time to review the snap. Of course, of course. Well, yeah, it fits the theme. You're in a very casual outfit, very light makeup. It's a very relaxed scene. You're seated, which plays up like the stationary value for, the laziness aspect. You have Eeyore well positioned here. We have a new hedgehog right in front of him. Very great display for him. Then we got another hedgehog on the side, and the new cast all right here. They are pretty expressive and animated, but the rest of the scene feels relaxed enough. You got a good silhouette on the avatar here. My only minor recommendation here would be, you're using a lot of these new these old white flowers here. For the Honeyglow wood stuff, like the yellow trees and the orange trees, there's a lot of warm notes. The new oak leaves, if you have some of those new oak leaves, we saw them in the previous snap. They're absolutely amazing ground decor. When you're, like in this one, we don't have the white leaves. Instead, we have these glowing oak leaves. So don't forget about pocket items when decorating the environment. There's always some really good options from pocket items. Like you're using food, which would be pocket items here. But for your ground, there's some really fun stuff from the new environment. And you wouldn't have to completely get rid of the white flowers. You can always just, remove a couple of the groups of petals and put in some of the oak leaves if you wanted to. But they are very pretty. And I think they would work well with the scene you have here. Junia Bug is next. I didn't get to submit for Monday, so I'm kind of cutting it close. I submitted 2 this week. They both look the same except my pose. One, I'm looking at the camera, and the other to Piglet. Okay. So we have this one here. All right, very cute, very cute. Like the villagers here. And then we have this one here. So my thoughts on this one, both poses are good. I like the one where you're looking at Piglet a bit more. I will say, though, I think like the yellow lip is... You know, I wouldn't go too heavy with the makeup this week because it's a lazy day, you know. With it being a lazy, cozy day, that's why you see a lot of the players being a bit more mild with their makeup, whereas usually almost with every challenge, you know, we're talking about how to really play up the makeup and make the most of your character designs. Oh, how did we not do LOTRs? So we'll have to do LOTRs next. But yeah, for a lot of the snaps, you know, the makeup is very, very mild. And I would just do, you know, I think like just a natural lip color, something that's a bit more mild would be good here. Not something you absolutely have to do. You do have your corners filled out. We have some of these green grass blades here. You have a flower set here. You've got some tasty treats. Now, the treats, it looks like you're just using the ones that are built into the picnic basket. Don't forget about cooked meals. You could put a little cooked meal here between you and Piglet. There's things like the new honey tea. There's a whole bunch of new honey-based meals. And you could even drop like a little pot of honey right in front of Scrooge, right in front of Pooh. You know, he's like rubbing his tummy here, so it'll look like he's enjoying the honey. And I like these little glass jars hanging here. The other thing would be sealing off the backdrop, unless you're in the biome and you know you can't put stuff back here, then it is what it is. Which I think you might be, but if you can decorate back here, you can add lights in the back, like some yellow lights just for glow. Like when we look at Femme Fatales here, you can see we have some green lights back here. I talked about yellow working well here in addition. Now, for LOTR, I haven't had the time to watch this week's stream for the theme, but I caught the last couple of reviews, and I wonder if mine's lazy enough. I was trying to get Mickey and Minnie to sit still and haven't figured out yet for the new toggle and pausing them while sitting. I had to do daylight because of the shadows on my face from the table. Okay, well, daylight's fine. You got plenty of good saturation here. And, you know, as we discussed, whether or not it needs to be at the same level of lazy as some of these, you know, that's not always going to matter. It just really comes down to what you pop up against. I do think there's outfits that feel a bit more like, you know, you didn't get super dressed up. It really helps with that lazy day kind of vibe. Like when, you know, makeup being very mild, the lip not being as bold, and some of the cozier outfits that are just like, you know, basic sweaters and like, you know, we've seen a lot of that this week. We've seen a lot of that with many of the submissions. Again, it's not going to matter unless you get a voter that is going to choose based on who's doing the theme stronger. So if you come up against a photo that matches yours in beauty and it's like the same, then the voters like, you know, if they're like, this is really pretty and this is really pretty, I like both of them, they're likely going to choose based on who they think is delivering the theme better. The two big things most voters consider would be theme and beauty. Beauty is subjective, but theme is, you know, theme can be interpreted in a few ways, but for the most part, you know, if you focus on all the key words of a theme, it becomes a bit easier to deliver on that. So like on Sunshine's submission here, you know, very mild makeup, and she's just wearing, she's indoors though, but she's wearing like, you know, just a cozy hoodie and some matching pants, no shoes or socks. You know, she's definitely in for the day. Now, you're outdoors, so I'd probably still do shoes and socks and stuff. But if we look at, you know, little outfits like this, you know, very mild makeup, it feels more, you know, more relaxed. And the colors are a bit more muted as well. So I do like this new outfit. I've seen it used a few times, the one you're using that has like the bold red and the bold yellows and the red and yellow on the hat. And I do like the red eyeshadow fading into the yellow. But it's a pretty extravagant outfit for a lazy day. Now, again, whether that matters, you know, there's a good chance it won't. But, you know, You can always, if you wanted to pivot and make like a slight alteration just to give your avatar more of a lazy, cozy day vibe, you definitely could. And it could make it even safer. But if you really want to match with Pooh with like the red and yellow kind of fit, you could do that as well. I'll probably go very, very lazy and low maintenance for my look this week. But, you know, I don't think everybody has to do that. There's going to be plenty of shots in 4K that aren't doing that. Luke Wright, when it comes to getting villagers in a shot, I talk about that all the time. If you watch some of my previous Dreamsnap guides. Samantha, you can give Luke Wright a link to one of our previous Dreamsnap tip videos where we covered it if you want. So I don't have time to get into it today because we have a lot of snaps to review. But you can get every villager in the game into your snap if you wanted to. Doesn't matter who's in the Scrooge shop, doesn't matter who's in Chez Remy, doesn't matter who's in their house. You can get almost every villager in the game to a floating island or to an area. You just use a villager summoning item. So there's a bunch of them in the game. They're free. Most of them are free. So if we go to favorites, I favorited mine, but like the Joy and Sadness Fireworks, for example, the Sadness Pillow. These items will summon, you know, anywhere from 2 to 5 villagers, depending on the item. And if you build a fence around it, they'll all be trapped there. And then you use your toggle once you've trapped all the villagers there and just put who you want into your photo. Like I said, I could show you an example of that, but won't be able to today. But very useful, very useful. And the good thing too, Luke, I know you said you've only been playing for a short time. The good thing is most of these villager summoning items are just quest rewards. So, you know, they're not, most of them aren't locked behind like a premium purchase or anything. Like the unbirthday cake table here, I think summons like 6 villagers, and you get it from Alice. There's, you know, take a look at your friendship quest rewards when they come in. So when I walk up to this, I get the option to use the camera to summon villagers. So if I quit my camera, it says press X to gather villagers, and I would just press X, and, you know, it summons random villagers, so you won't be able to choose. But if you just keep doing this, you'll end up with like a whole bunch of villagers in this area. And that's why I build a fence around it, and I put it off to the side. Like, I don't put it right in my build. And that way, you know, as long as the villagers are on the floating island where you're building or around the area where you're building, then you can use the toggle. So once we get, like, you know, as many villagers as we want, that's when we'll switch to the toggle. And that's when we'll just start adding these villagers into our scene based on who works with the theme and what we're going for with the theme, stuff like that. But yeah, very useful, very useful. And, you know, with that new villager toggle, it's definitely the meta right now. You'll see most of the snaps in the 4K range are finding very creative ways to highlight and include villagers. So doing that yourself can be very, very good. Now, with this week's theme being more of a relaxed vibe, you don't really need that many. But just, you know, villagers that work with the lazy, cozy day concept can be fantastic this week. All right. We got, I think, Sapphire next. Oh, no, we did Sapphires. We did Sapphires. We did Junia. We got Sasha. Sasha Zito. Hey, Simbai, these are so late, and I'm anxious about submitting. I tried third-person camera, and I think I did okay, but would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions about how to make it better. Well, you know, I don't like to say better, necessarily. I like to say more competitive, you know, because, like, better is subjective. You know, we know what the voters like when it comes to the 4K range because we see a lot of the same things each week. So what could we do to make it more competitive? Now, I love this. This is a really good central focus here with you kind of to the left, Eeyore here to the right, and you reaching out to pet him. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, with Winnie the Pooh, I think I like this one a bit more than this one because it's just a nice center shot of you two here. Now, since it's not a rainy day here, I know the Pooh Dream Style is super cute. I think this would be a great one to have on them if you're doing an indoor snap this week to kind of allude to the fact that it's raining outside. But I would say for this one, just the natural Pooh style would be great since everybody else is kind of in their natural fit. And you have some meals that are built into the picnic blanket here, but it wouldn't hurt to, like, maybe add, like, a little honeyed milk beside you or a little meal, you know, some kind of little meal here. And I would also add some filler items into these open spots around your rug. Think about a couple of new flowers. Think about the new oak leaves that you can drop from your pockets. The new oak leaves are really beautiful. They put off light and orbs, and that would give you a little bit of extra filler. You don't have to go too crazy to where everything is covered, but a couple little details in these open pockets could be great. And yeah, I do really like your little hedgehog house. I think it would also be a great idea to attach a couple of hedgehogs to the house. And if you put a little companion ball over here, maybe you can get them to walk up and interact with it. Usually it takes about 3 to 5 minutes for them to register that there's a companion ball nearby. But yeah, getting a little hedgehog to walk into the shot, that could be a great way to fill in some of the space as well. And showcasing some of the new pets, I think would be awesome. I like the... people do like seeing both new villagers and new companions. I like the style of the avatar here. Makeup is very mild, just a soft yellow here. The little dress is very casual. So, yeah, it's got a nice lazy, cozy day vibe to it. As far as how it performs, just depends on what it pops up against. I think it did pretty good with the free mode shot here, though, with the free mode, you can definitely get really close, like LOTR did here. She zoomed in right on the avatar and kind of right on Pooh. Again, you don't have to get this close, but just keep in mind, when it comes to the 4K range, what you see very consistently are typically shots where, the avatar is pretty strongly featured. You are featured very well in your shot, though. Just keep that in mind. I like how you're centered here in this one. And I know you have to keep the camera a little further back so you can get these lanterns in your shot. Sweet Dreamer Casey here. Hi, Senpai, as always. Appreciate your advice, suggestions you may have. Okay. Well, we got a nice seated pose here, which is relaxed. But I will say the snap is very busy. Usually this is really good. But this week, I think it might not be for the best because it's supposed to be a relaxed scene. This is a very busy scene. It's beautiful, and I think it could perform very well. I think it's got a good shot at 4K. But the outfit here, this is a very extravagant outfit. It's got the ruffles. It looks like, when you were getting ready, you were not being lazy at all. Again, there's a lot of outfits out there that are, very relaxed, like just a simple dress, very mild makeup. That's what you're seeing in a lot of snaps this week. And I do think it's a good idea to consider that, if it's a lazy, cozy day, how would you dress, right? We have snaps where the avatar is indoors with just a basic hoodie, no shoes. They're in for the day. They're wearing their hair down. All these things that kind of showcase that it's a lazy, cozy day. And even for the other kind of outdoor picnicky scenes, we see simple cardigans, sneakers. We have snaps like this where, the simple dress. I love this one because the makeup is very mild. It's like a tan eyeshadow, a very neutral lip, and, just a nice, cozy little dress. The snap that you created is really fun and really colorful, and I love that about your snap. And voters do love, very colorful, well-lit scenes. So the lighting here is perfect. But with the storyteller fires, with the fireflies, with the extravagant outfit, I don't think I could ever guess that it's a relaxed scene. It feels very energetic, But yeah, doesn't mean it won't get 4K. If anything, it could still do very, very well. This is only going to matter if you happen to pop up against a snap that does feel more like a lazy, cozy day and does feel more relaxed, and you get a voter that's very theme-oriented. So if you could do something very beautiful and also make it feel a bit lazier or cozier in that aspect, I think it would be a good idea. What you could do here, if you want to try that, for one, I would switch to something a bit more casual for the outfit. This outfit is really fun if we were playing up, if the theme were just like Winnie the Pooh picnic or picnic with new friends, or just a theme about honey, then this outfit would be awesome for this theme. But since the theme this week is lazy, cozy day, and it asks us to make a relaxed scene, and it's kind of a carefree day, the extra effects in the hair, the more extravagant outfit, the flashy makeup, the avatar looks good, but as far as for me this week as a voter, when I do vote on snaps, I'm likely going to gravitate towards the more lazy, comfy outfits that, look like the avatar is just kind of having a carefree day. They're not going out of their way to dress super flashy. They're not going very bold with the makeup. They're just relaxing. They're not worried about anything. But yeah, love the way you got the villagers and you got some really fun colors here. But it is busier than many of the snaps I've seen with like the storyteller fires and the heavy fireflies and the flashy outfit. So if you did want to try just giving this more of a lazy, cozy day kind of vibe, what you could do is give yourself more of a neutral, calm look. And you can do the same pose if you would like. And, if you tone down, like these fireflies over here, the mild amount of flies around the tree here look really good. But, the storyteller fires, it's interesting. They're always really popular, right? Ever since they came out. They're in almost all the snaps. But this week, nobody's really using them. Why is that? Why, especially after we did Explosions of Color where everybody was using them, why are they not making as many appearances this week? And I think the reason for that is because people are trying to make it come off as a very relaxing scene. So they're just going with very natural elements and they're not playing up a whole lot of extra motion, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do think, considering a subtle outfit change and considering, toning down some of the effects would be good for the theme here. But again, not something you absolutely have to do. This could definitely get 4K as it is. Just cautioning you on some of the more, picky, choosy voters when it comes to theme. Lee Squeaks is next. I didn't have much time to pull the snap together with working through the adventure pack, but I was able to put something simple together. I have an hour to tweak it tonight. I appreciate your suggestions. Okay. All right, so we got Eeyore right here. We got you kind of reading a book here. Why are you wearing the cauldron on your head? That's kind of funny. Tigger looks confused about it. I like that you got Tigger, not being super animated. You have him kind of chilling here. Now, one thing that the theme did state was that we were being tasked with building a scene that was a relaxed scene filled with warmth, treats, and cozy corners. So, if the scene is filled with treats, I think it would be a good idea to feature some of those, like, towards the front of your scene a little bit. Like, if you had a little meal, you do have some honey, but it's kind of hidden behind you. But if you maybe took one of the new meals that you can cook, you can have, like, little honey tea right next to you. You can have one of the new sandwiches, or maybe just a little plate of cookies, all kinds of fun things. And you have a nice little spot for it right here, so I think that would be good. And the other thing I would recommend is you do have a lot of opportunity right here. So you don't want to block, Winnie the Pooh's house. But in this range here, a few flowers could go a long way. There's definitely a lot of good new decor that we could put in that space. And if you have the opportunity, there are some new rugs that look really good. There's like that new honey rug. That looked awesome. That could look really awesome in this space here. And then back here in this little field, you could do some more flowers. I would tidy up the honey swirls. But yeah, the third camera mode kind of zoomed in here. I think you got a really good framing on your avatar. You got her nice and close. The cauldron is iffy. I don't know if I would wear the little strainer on my head. I think it's pretty funny, but I don't know how well it suits the environment. But it could be why Tigger's confused, and that's kind of fun. But yeah, I think considering some extra details in these opportunities you have with this big open area here and this open area back here, and then maybe a little bit of treat action in the environment around you. A good thing to put, like, over here, actually, would be the new hedgehog house, if you have it. That little mushroom house, and then you can attach a couple of hedgehogs, and we can have some cute little hedgehogs in the scene as well. That could be really good. Dreamy Dewdrop. Hey, was super engrossed with the adventure pack, as well as decorating my entire valley, that I almost forgot to make the snap this week, but here it is. I'd love to know what you think of it, and if you see anything that needs tweaking. Hope you have a great day and an amazing vacay with the fam. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. All right, let's see here. The rushing wind is very nice. Very calm villagers here. You know, even Tigger's not jumping around. You have him being kind of thoughtful here. Giggling with Piglet is very cute. And then for the avatar, you got the cute little new Piglet outfit. It does feel like kind of a cold weather fit, but, you know, I've seen a lot of that this week. I've seen people like scarves, like hoodies, and, you know, it did say warmth, so a nice warm outfit can be nice. Then for the backdrop, you know, we have Piglet's house here. We have the Winnie the Pooh tree back here. We have some beehives. And you are featuring, like, some of the new food, like the honeyed milk here, which is great. I do like the interaction here. Lighting is very good. You know, that sun behind the camera. You got some good light coming into the scene here. Nice silhouette on the backdrop with the yellow light. Overall, very fun, very fun. I usually like to avoid having the large foreground elements. I do know these lanterns, you know, these little jars, they look great. And the little mushroom is super cute. But I do think if you took this and you moved it a little bit more left, like maybe get this green to the edge of the scene here, you'd still see these elements, and it would open up the space behind you just a little bit more. So maybe taking this, well, actually, if they're connected and if that moves this one over as well, then you won't be able to do that. I'm not sure. I'm not as familiar with the new items yet. But if this is like an arch, then I guess you can't, because then that would move this over. But if it's not, if this is its own item, you can slide it left. I've just been too busy with GoFest to like get all the new stuff, so not as knowledgeable on it as I usually am. I will be by next week. Bob's is next. Originally was going to be camping until Wednesday, so wasn't going to submit, but we cut the trip short due to weather. Oh no. Here's my submission, since I'll actually be home and can make changes today. All right, all right. Well, very good look on the avatar here. You know, very light makeup. Not super dolled up. We have Winnie the Pooh. I do recommend his default dreams, or his default style, unless you're using him for, you know, a scene where it looks like it might rain with some clouds in the sky, or a rainy day, or an indoor scene. His new dream style is really cute, but I do think the red of his shirt, of his base shirt, is just going to look good with the colorations that you have here. And I think the natural style for Winnie the Pooh will be good here. I don't think a lot of voters are going to judge you harshly on that. I just think that the default style would make more sense with the environment. Villagers look good. Everybody is, you know, kind of chill, kind of relaxed. We do have some treats here. I like that you got the new oak leaves kind of put in here. We have Pooh's thoughtful spot on display. We have Pooh's house. I like the little pond here as well. And the hanging lanterns look fantastic. So yeah, I also like the tasteful amount of fireflies. You know, you're not going crazy with the effects here. We just have a nice, tasteful little string of fireflies here. And then, you know, just a few little lanterns hanging off the tree. So it feels nice and cozy. It feels relaxed. And you feature the avatar very well. So overall, Bob's, I'd say solid work, solid work. And again, you know, as I mentioned, if you are going to be standing, I think it's best to use the hedgehog pose, because voters do tend to love seeing some of the new critters. But I do think, you know, shots where the avatar is like completely stationary, where they're sitting down, sitting in a chair, using fox pose, using the robot pose, and then adding the hedgehogs to your scene, I think might be more competitive this week. I expect it to turn out kind of like how Forested Book Nook did, where, you know, the seated shots ended up being very, very popular. But again, not something you absolutely have to do, and even on Forested Book Nook, there were still plenty of shots in 4K where the avatar was standing. Overall, beautiful work, Bobs. All right, that takes out all of the remaining primary reviews. Now we have a lot of secondary reviews to look at here. A lot to look at. Dreamer is up first. So we have your old snap here, and your new snap here. Added a table with the treats, gone. Tiana, desserts, and coat hanger, Eeyore. Get the 2 kittens in the shot. Okay. So this was the original. I'm not sure what's going on with your eyes in the new one. But it looks like you were blinking when you took the shot. And since you're a little further away, it just looks like black circles kind of around the eyes. I do like that you added the new rug. There's a lot of warmth from that. And it does feel like a good, lazy, cozy day. You know, you're in your PJs still. You've got your socks on, no shoes. We got some treats on the table here. You have the kitty cats. You have Pooh. You have Eeyore. Piglet over here by the fireplace I think would be really nice. You do have a great spot for Piglet. You can have him kind of just looking at the beignets. I think that would be nice. And I would also try to fix the expression, you know. Just at least have the eyes open. And yeah, overall, I think it's a good improvement. But in this one, I do like the eyes being open here. So and I also think you can get away with a little bit of extra detail, like maybe something on the wall here. And don't forget, Dreamer, when you do an indoor scene, you can place windows where we can't see them, like a window on the left wall or a window on the front wall, and you can get some light to come into the room from the window. This is a very good way to play with your indoor lighting. So it's not just about hanging your lights and putting lights around, but you can actually use daylight with your indoor scenes, and it can work out really well. So if we look at Cozy Holiday Cheer, you'll see that right here. You know, we have this beautiful light coming in, hitting the floor from this window back here. Now, this shows a lot more of the room than yours, and I talked about this earlier, that, you know, when I do an indoor snap, I usually try to highlight a lot of the room. But if you, I know you have like a little window over here, but even if you put one on this left wall, I just wouldn't put one on the wall behind you because you don't want a window behind your fireplace. That wouldn't really make too much sense. But I don't know where your sun is in relation to your angle here. So if you can't do this, don't worry about it. But if you could put a window on the left wall or the front wall or the right wall to get some light to kind of cast into the room, that could look really good here. Zombie is next. This was Zombie's original. I did really like this one. I think it really captures the lazy, cozy day. You know, the only risky thing is, like I said, when it comes to a lot of indoor dream snaps, a lot of the ones you see perform very well. And, you know, same with most of mine. Showcasing a bit more of the room does typically see very good results. So if we look at, you know, this is super old. This was Dreamsnap Challenge number 22 before we had the sliders, before we had the meta of pushing the camera forward, all that stuff. But this was Under the Sea. This got rank 120 or so. And then for Dreamlight Art Gallery, this got rank 19. Shows a lot of the room here. Again, before sliders, before we were pushing the camera closer. But showcasing a lot of your, you know, decorating skill does tend to work pretty well, and you can still do a concept. Yo, thank you. Let's go, Emily. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Emily is still not done here. Emily with another 10 gifted subs. Oh, Wolf Spirit caught one. Very nice, very nice. And yeah, guys, any of you guys that caught a gifted sub, whether it was Wolf Spirit here, first time chatter, welcome, my friend, or anyone else that's hanging out, right now, you can participate in the Dreamsnap reviews if you would like to. You totally have that option. So if you would like to participate in the Dreamsnap reviews, you always have that option. And Emily, thank you so much. That's 20 gifted subs now. That is really kind of you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And to all of you guys that caught the gifteds, again, if you type exclamation reviews, you'll get a little breakdown of like what you can do to participate. And yeah, whether you're on a Prime sub, a gifted sub, a recurring sub, you're always welcome to participate in this review process. And Emily, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You got us completely covered on gifted subs for the whole week already. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Wolf says usually lurking. Well, I love my lurkers, so thank you for hanging out, my friend. Thank you for hanging out. Now, in this one, we do get to see a little bit more of the room in your new scene. And I do love the addition of Eeyore. The main thing we talked about in your original review was it could be great just to add just a villager. You don't need a big party going on since it's a lazy, cozy day. And Eeyore, I think, is like the best villager to add because when it comes to being low energy, I don't think we have a villager that's more low energy than Eeyore. And I love the way you have him featured here, just kind of resting on the ground with you. And you're scrolling on your phone, which is a really fun seated pose to have here. And then we have this one where we have some honey on the side. And, oh yeah, you did add some treats to the table as well, because I think we talked about that. Oh, I love Remy here. I didn't catch him here in that last one. Ooh, yeah, the last one might be my favorite out of the three. In the last one, because in this one, it's great, but it does feel, you know, we see the couch go out of frame here, and then over here we have the clock, and then we hit the wall. And there's like a little bit of opportunity here on this bottom right side and kind of up here around the clock. And also your lighting in this one is really nice. It looks like you got some great light casting above the avatar. We still get the magic of you kind of being super lazy with your laundry here. You even got a pile of socks on the ground now. Mochi is super cute. You know, we have Stitch sitting next to you with the motif here. And then we have Eeyore and the little pile of honey pods. So it looks even messier, you know? Like you're just ignoring the chores. We have the broom here, just kind of hanging out like, hey, some cleaning needs to be done. We have the laundry piled up. We have the honey. This is great. It's lazy, but it's also cozy and chill. There is an animation for this phone, by the way, where you can interact with it and it'll start ringing, and you ignoring the phone while you scroll on your cell phone would be pretty funny. But yeah, I love the new Snap. I think this does a fantastic job really embodying the description of the challenge and the carefree day and the lazy, cozy vibes. So, very fun, very fun. Robbery in Progress is next. OG was the standing one. You suggested I actually followed the theme. I say that playfully. So I sat down at my picnic. I changed outfit a little and had to change the scene a bit to fit better with the lower angle. All right, so we had this one here, which is absolutely beautiful. And like I mentioned when I reviewed this one, even if it's not as much of a lazy day as some of the others, you know, it could still definitely get 4K just as it was. But if you end up getting paired up against snaps, kind of like the one we just reviewed that really do have that laziness to them and that super relaxed vibe to them, and you end up with voters that are, you know, really picking based on that. I've seen a lot of chatter online from people looking at people's snaps and, you know, people sharing their snaps saying, do you think this is on theme? And there's a lot of feedback where people are like, no, it needs to be, you know, lazy or relaxed. So in order to appease those voters, as well as the voters that are, you know, more open with their selections, creating a scene where we have the same level of beauty, but we can really play up that laziness, I think is great. So wonderful job here with the avatar style. Like, I love the fit here. This feels super cozy, you know, just the nice comfy sweater, the baggy pants, light makeup. Eeyore here on the side is fantastic. And then Pooh and Piglet also kind of chilling. You even still have Tigger, but you don't have him as animated. He's just kind of relaxing back here or just thinking. And yeah, I love the feature of the new items, the honey pods. And a nice, you know, the whole foreground and midground area is just, you know, it's very chill. My only recommendation from here, if you wanted to tweak it at all tonight or do anything else with it, the new oak leaves, I think, are great little ground decor pieces. So if you wanted to include some of the new oak leaves, you maybe one like tucked back here, or you can put one like right here. They are beautiful, beautiful new items for pocket items. You can just drop them, maybe a couple in the environment, because they'll look really good with the honey glows. And if you have any of the new cooked meals, you could put a little honeyed tea next to you right here, like you're enjoying, or no, it's honeyed milk. You can have a little honeyed milk right here, and it has a really good, like, artistic, like, honey swirl in the milk. But I do think, the picnic set here has its own built-in little food items. But you can also add some extra details with some of the, craftable, cookable items here. It does look like you were trying to get a hedgehog in here because you have the Pixar ball. So, if you can still get a hedgehog to wander in here, great, but not absolutely necessary, not 100% necessary. Could be cute, though. Yeah, love the changes. I feel like it's just as beautiful as your original submission, but it's working overtime here to, win over both types of voters. The voters that always lean towards beauty and the voters that lean towards theme. And that's the safest way to approach Dreamsnap challenges. That way, regardless of what type of voter you get you covered. And again, you don't always have to approach it this way. It might not matter. You might just get voters that pick based on beauty, which is a lot of people, actually. So something like this could still definitely get 4K. But this would be even safer. So yeah, great job there, Robbery. Great job. Next up, we have Jennifer. Hey, you wanted to see a Cedar shot here and less animation to emphasize the laziness. Original is my first, and I have 2 new versions. Main differences are the background and poses. Thanks. Okay. So this is yesterday's. We have some fireworks here, standing pose for the avatar, some very animated, positions for our villagers here. Piglet's doing a little dance, Tigger's jumping, and, it's higher energy than a lot of the ones we've seen. So now we have this one here. So very relaxed for the avatar here. Love the style of the avatar. And yeah, everybody's looking super chill. We do have some of the new meals here, like the honeyed carrots. And we have a little honey dish over here. Really cute scene with Piglet as well. Great job getting nice and close. We even have the Mickey Cloud right in the back, like centered. Beautiful work there. And I love that you went with the yellow smoke bombs. I've been talking about this a lot. We've always used street lights in the back of our forest to kind of seal them off, right? But now that we have these smoke bombs, that's a new alternative. They're kind of expensive from Scrooge, so you have to shell out a good bit of star coins if you want enough to really use this. But look at how pretty that glow is back there. Look at how pretty that yellow glow is you can get. And since you can change the color of these smoke bombs, they can be super fun filler items. So I love the way you use the smoke bombs there. Now you have this one as well. You've already done what I was about to say. That's so funny. So I was about to mention, and I'm sure you probably thought about this once you looked at it, and you were like, some extra texture here in the opening spots would look great. And that's exactly what you've already done here. So you've already addressed what I was going to touch on here. That gives a lot of good detail to your forest backdrop, which is super fun. Overall, very pretty. I think since you have these trees close, we're not getting a lot of light on them since the sun is, we can see Piglet's shadow. The sun is behind the camera, but it's to the right-hand side. So we're catching light here, we're catching light here, but on this right-hand side of the scene, since the sun is off in that direction, the other side of the tree is getting light. But this provides you with a great opportunity for, if you have them, a tasteful couple of fireflies, right? I wouldn't go too crazy because you don't want it to be too busy, but like a little bit of firefly glowing right here and a little bit right here could be good. And if you want the fireflies to be more calm, you can set your light bloom to 1% and they won't be as loud. So that's another great way you can use them just for some added, you'll have some nice little golden orbs to break up some of the darker shaded orange here. And it would overlap with this orange very nicely. But yeah, overall, very solid here. Very solid. I mean, it's a super relaxing scene. You did a great job with the backdrop here. Bobs, thank you for the resub. Much appreciated. Also, Butcher's Hobbit. Hello, hello, hello. And then, you could have the oak leaves as well, if you wanted. You don't really have a lot of space for them, though, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. But yeah, some tasteful fireflies could be really nice here. Jennifer, thank you for the 200 bits, my friend. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Bob's coming in with the resub. Jennifer with the 200 bits. We had, my brain stopped working. Robbery with 100 bits a bit earlier as well. And Jennifer had already sent 300 bits today. Thank you, my friend, thank you. And let's not forget the very generous 20 gifted subs from Emily. I cannot believe you're at it again today. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the love this week and last week. You guys, y'all are incredible. But yeah, great job. Great job. Ultimately, it's your call which one you go with, Jennifer. I love the way you've adapted the advice that we discussed here. And like I said, I think this one is definitely the strongest of the three. Really fantastic job kind of embodying the theme here and delivering on that lazy, cozy day experience. Great job. And if you don't have the fireflies, don't worry about it. You know, it'll be fine with these pockets. It would just add a nice little detail glow to the left and right if you did have them. Caroline Rose is next. You mentioned sitting down. I also changed the background a little bit. I feel like it fits the theme more. Thank you for the feedback. First photo is the original. Second photo is the new. Okay, so this is the original. And then we have this one. Okay, very nice. Yeah, I love the seated pose. You know, like we said, when it comes to the seated poses, you don't absolutely have to do like the fox pose or the robot pose. You can use a chair. And I think this does play really well with the scene. I think what we were talking about yesterday is you had this nice table here with like the meals. And you know, if we brought a chair in, you can kind of be sitting at the table, relaxing, enjoying the meals. Just adds to that relaxation element, adds to that lazy element. I like the more muted makeup tones here. You know, very casual outfit, just some shorts, the cardigan in the top. Really good job filling out the foreground, too. We have, like, this flower here. There's the little honey pot here. And we have these other pots. And then we have this nice little table with some of the new craftable or cookable items. Even a little beehive in the back. And we have Piglet and Pooh here. I do love that you had Eeyore featured in your first one. I know it's a little tricky because in your new one with the chair and with the table, it's going to be kind of hard to squeeze them in. But Eeyore is very low energy and, you know, I think adds a lot of value to that relaxation aspect. So if there is a way you can, you know, squeeze them in here, I think it could be very nice to have them. Though that would likely require you to move some things around. Like maybe if you took this big orange bush and you pulled it back a little bit, maybe we can have Eeyore like right here behind the chair. You know, kind of visible on the left-hand side. So that way you're kind of surrounded by your friends. You'll have Eeyore here on the left. You'll have Pooh and Piglet on the right. Or you can always have Eeyore in the foreground instead of the flower and the orange honey pot here. Totally up to you. There's a lot of options when it comes to having him in here if you do want to add him. I love the nice soft silhouette on the backdrop here. And yeah, I definitely think it fits even more in line with that lazy, cozy day vibe. You know, this definitely was on theme, but I think the theme is even stronger in the new image. So yeah, wonderful job, wonderful job. Even put a little sun motif up here. And you have the sun, you know, behind the camera. We can see your shadow kind of going back here. So very nice, very nice. Great job. Well done, Caroline. Well done. Left Shark is next. I entirely changed my scene because it did not match what I tried to do. Hope this one feels more like a lazy, cozy day. Gotcha, gotcha. This one was very beautiful. I talked about the beauty aspect of this scene. I think this one could do really well in terms of beauty. But what we discussed is that it kind of comes off as like a shopping day, or you know, because it feels like a little market with the little piglet stall here and then the basket in hand. So it feels like you're out and about, like maybe not being lazy, and that's what I would recommend caution for. I mean, it's a gorgeous scene, though. It's a gorgeous scene. You know, really good lighting. But let's check out the new one here. Okay, very nice, very nice. Wow, you really got your colors looking great here. Also, it actually looks like Eeyore is eating the honeyed carrots. That's so fun. I haven't seen anybody use Eeyore just like that. Honestly, this is so good, Left Shark. I would think about putting that even closer. You know, like this is good. This is really good. I think voters would, I mean, I think they're going to love it already, but this is so good, I would make it more of a central focus. Like, maybe instead of the pillow, we can have him eating right next to you. But you are looking at him to kind of draw attention to him, which is good. And I do like that we have Pooh's thoughtful spot here. Piglet and Pooh kind of chatting. We have some treats. You know, it does have that good lazy day feel. The other thing, though, is facing away is tricky. I've actually managed to get in the top 3 with a shot where I'm not facing the camera, so they can do good. They can. So don't feel like you always have to face the camera, but the time I did face away, it's because it was a hiking challenge, and I really wanted to highlight the hiking backpack, so I waved to Donald, who was in his safari outfit, and he was further down the path, and I was able to highlight that hiking backpack really well. But the downside to facing away is it does remove, you know, kind of the opportunity to showcase expression, which we see, you know, in a lot of snaps where there's like that sense of relaxation on the avatar's face, that sense of peace or joy, whatever it may be. I do think that can, you know, really resonate well with voters a lot of the times. So it's tricky to face away. It's always kind of like, you know, it could be totally okay. It could work out very well, or, you know, you can come up against a photo that is also very beautiful, but the voter might appreciate the joy or the expression or how you styled the front of the avatar. So it can be tricky. I do like that it draws attention to Eeyore, though. But man, I just think the Eeyore eating the carrots is so good. Like, I haven't seen anybody use them quite like that, and it's so good to use these poses in unique ways. It's definitely a big part of the meta right now. So I would almost, you know, if I had this idea, I would want it right at the front, and I would want my avatar still looking at him. So if you did reposition this really unique Eeyore display, you could also have a side profile of your avatar kind of looking towards him. So it could open up an opportunity to showcase the expression on the avatar and really highlight this amazing play you have here. But even if you don't change it, I think it definitely works very well with the theme. Absolutely stunning photo in terms of lighting and color. It feels very cozy. It feels very warm. It looks like you've set your light bloom maybe to 1% which is great because the fireflies come off very tame. And this is exactly what I was recommending for a previous snap. When you have these shadowy areas under the trees, a little bit of tasteful firefly action in there can really help to kind of, you know, make those pockets more interesting for the voter. So yeah, really beautiful work here, Left Shark. I absolutely love this. I would definitely vote for this. But you know, I see a lot of mixed opinions online when it comes to the avatar facing away. So you can definitely do well with it. You know, I like I said, I had one of my ring 2s was facing away, so they can work. I think, you know, that week I was fortunate enough not to have people judge me harshly for it. But you know, I do think generally it's a bit safer to like showcase the expressiveness of your avatar if you are using them. But yeah, it can still do well. So if you want to go with it like this, you know, go right ahead. It's still a very, very nice snap, and I think it feels super cozy here. Overall, solid work. Chica is next. Chica said, my first snap didn't quite have the laziness. I tried a different pose and brought decor and food forward. Okay, so this was yesterday's. We have kind of an indoor-outdoor situation here where we have some snowy weather outside. You know, very cozy outfit. But we talked about how to play up the laziness factor a bit more, and that's why we see a lot of seated snaps or, you know, snaps that are really working on that relaxation element. Now going into the new one here. Oh, very fun, very fun. So we have you right up at the front playing checkers with Olaf. This works really good. I love that we can see that you're not wearing shoes here. You just have some cozy socks on. Just like Left Shark's, where it looked like Eeyore was eating the carrots. In yours, it looks like Lady is lapping up the hot cocoa, which I hope you guys are ready to take her to the vet. You know, we'll just pretend this is dog-safe hot cocoa. It's dog-safe hot cocoa. But that's super cute. I don't know if you were intending for it to look like she was licking out of the cup, but it really does look like it, which is, I think, really adorable. And then I like that you have the snow clouds outside in your windows here. We have a nice, cozy little fireplace here. Looks like you brought Sven in. We even have Figaro here. But yeah, super cute displays for the villagers. My recommendation from here, Chica, would be something in this bottom left corner, kind of next to you, I think could be really fun. Options would be, you know, you could do another kind of food item. You could do some kind of pet if you, you know, put like let's say you have Figaro attached to a pet house around here. If you put a companion ball right out of frame where we can't see it, like right down here where the 2 on my goal is, if you put a companion ball right there, Figaro, sometimes it takes 4 to 5 minutes for them to register that there's a ball, and it has to be within range of the pet house. But he'll walk up to it and dance with it and do that little dance and that spin, and that would be such a cute way to occupy this corner. And even if you showed the ball, like, that'd be fine. You can even show the top of the ball here if you wanted to. But that could be a fantastic way to fill out this bottom left-hand corner if you had the time to wait for the companion to kind of pull that off. Could be very nice. Could be very nice. Tigress is next. I'm not sure if I like my redo. Let me know what you think. Thanks for all the help and advice. First of the original. Hope you had a great weekend at GoFest. I did. Oh, you went to GoFest as well, Tigress? Nice, nice. Yeah, so on the second day of GoFest, on Sunday, I caught a hundo Mewtwo from a raid. Dude, I did like 86 Mewtwo raids. I did so many. I ended up getting, I think, like 4 or 5 shiny Mewtwo's. I got a hundo Mewtwo, which is the one I maxed out for now. And I caught a lot of other really, really good things, and I completed a lot. I completed some of my platinum badges. Like, I got the platinum badge for catching unknowns. I was able to get the last of the unknowns I hadn't found yet. I put down a lot of lure modules for people to use, and I got my platinum badge for that as well. So I got a lot done at GoFest, and I had so much fun. You know, me and Tommy biked around. Saturday kind of sucked, though. It started pouring down rain, and I got stuck in the rain, like, walking through the park, and I got... My jacket ended up weighing like probably 20 pounds. It was so wet. And then I was still down there the rest of the day. Thankfully, after like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., it cleared up. And Sunday was really nice, just kind of humid. But yeah, I loved it. I always feel kind of sad when it's over because I always have so much fun at GoFest, and there's like so many cool things they do for it. And then as soon as it ends, it's kind of just like back to normal. But they do have some good events throughout July, so, you know, it's still pretty fun. Now, for your scenes here, you had your original scene from yesterday, and, you know, we discussed this as well. If you want to go with kind of the original concept, I do think if you're going to do a standing pose, I would consider doing a standing pose with maybe with the hedgehog, because, you know, I mean, when we had first got the Pocahontas update, right? When we got Pocahontas, voters love seeing new companions highlighted. This snap ended up getting like rank 92 or 94 or something like that. And I was just holding the little Miko here for a cute little interaction. And I think Miko definitely played a huge role in this doing well. So if you are going to do a standing pose, I think playing up the new hedgehogs would be a good idea. Now for this one, the issue here, and the reason you likely like this one better, is that you're not pushing the camera forward. You can get a lot closer. And this is still going to be your best bet, because here's the thing. If you want to do a seated pose for this Tigress, it's going to require restructuring. So you're likely not putting the camera on the ground because you still want to show these pretty mushrooms. And if you put the camera on the ground, and again, you know, when I say put the camera on the ground, I'm talking about, you know, the technique where we go into selfie mode, we crouch, and then we uncrouch and switch to portrait mode, right? That's going to put the camera will stay down here, like this. The camera will sit down here. This is what I'm recommending when I talk about using, the seated pose. You know, we can get even closer. So we can get like right here. Let me go back. But this is what worked really well during Forested Book Nook, right? If you go back to my Facebook and you look at Forested Book Nook, and you look at the hundreds of 4K submissions shared, there were so many good seated ones, but the ones that were ranking really well were the ones where the avatar was featured right near the front of the scene. This was, between the robot pose and the fox pose, these were some of the most popular snaps within the 4K range. They were very prominent. They performed very well. And I think this week is going to be somewhat similar. Again, you don't have to be doing this to get 4K, but I think it is going to be a very common trend this week because it's a great way to showcase that relaxation or that coziness where, you're not up and about, you're seated, you're stationary, you're relaxed. Even a relaxed pose like this where you use option 2 and you have a subtle smile. But this is kind of what we're recommending. Now, I think the reason you might not have gone that route is because when you crouch, you're not going to see the top of these mushrooms anymore. But you could have the best of both worlds. So what I was recommending for you was to keep the strengths of this scene and to do a seated pose like this. So let me show you what I mean here. We're going to go, I'm going to spend a little extra time on yours because I want to, that way when I give you advice on seated poses, you'll be more equipped to kind of take these steps so you would like it more. Because if you just use the same framing that you had and you just sit down, no, it's not going to be as good. You have to structure for a seated shot. It's kind of like, when we saw like Left Shark's seated shot, that wouldn't necessarily work with this scene. So they restructured, they actually just made an entirely new snap. But for example, with Caroline Rose here, right, she had a standing snap originally, and she opted for a seated snap, but she still has the table on the side, and she still has the trees in the back, but she ended up restructuring the foreground and moving some things around to make it work with a seated shot. And that's what you would have to do as well. You wouldn't just want to sit down and be like, there we go, because you're not going to like it as much. The scene you built was not built for a seated shot, so you would have to alter it for that to really work. So what's strong about this is, you have this pretty backdrop, right? We have the pretty trees. But if you go into the seated mode, you're not going to see the top of this. But that's something you can fix. So let's say I go into portrait mode here, right? If I'm standing up, we can see these, the branches of the tree really well. We see these lanterns. And now when I sit down with the camera, it's a bit lower. We can't see as high up into the tree line. So what you want to do if you still want to see towards the top of your build, or you still want to see what was up high, is you just need to move your camera, whatever's pushing your camera, you need to move it further away. The further away you go, the higher up into the horizon you'll be able to see, even when you use the crouch technique. So now we can see pretty much everything we were seeing earlier. We just moved a little bit. So in yours, if you wanted to get the same kind of value here that you have here, you wouldn't, like you can tell by looking at both of them, you didn't rebuild anything or adjust anything for a seated shot. That's why I was saying you can save this one to your gallery so you have it if you want to switch back to it. But the reason we want to save it at the gallery is because we can't just retake it because we need to move some things. So you don't want to be tiny. That's the reason we're putting the camera closer in the first place. That's the meta. We talk about that all the time. So I'm surprised that we didn't, I'm surprised we didn't try to get close to the avatar, because that's exactly what you were doing in the first one. It looks like for your re-review, you just said, okay, I'll sit down and snap it, and then I don't like it. Well, yeah, of course you don't like it. You're not playing up the meta anymore. You're not delivering what the voters like, which is the avatar playing a more significant role in the shot. So, again, you can have all the strengths of the first scene, and you can highlight the avatar very well by putting the camera on the ground and getting a good shot right up on the avatar. And if you can't see the things in the background, oh, I got a little Mickey cloud, look at that. If you can't see the stuff going on in the background, all you have to do is, if you can't see the top of your mushroom line anymore, you just got to move away a little bit and then build your foreground around a seated shot. So in a seated shot, you're going to have lower, smaller items for your bottom left and bottom right-hand corners. You can't use the same things that you're using for a standard shot. So this would be standard. So let's say, you know, I use, for the foreground, like this bush. We'll just put this bush here. Pretty big. Well, let's say we have that for, you know, bottom left corner. Pretend it's a little smaller. You know, it doesn't cover up too much of the scene. But as soon as we go into a seated shot, now it's, you know, it's taking up way too much space. And we get the base of it as well. So we wouldn't want to use the same item there. Now, this doesn't mean you have to completely rebuild your entire snap to do a ground shot. All you have to do is put a little bit of effort into it. But sadly, yeah, I wouldn't use that seated shot because you didn't do anything. You just sat down and snapped the same photo. You gotta move a little bit of stuff around. It's when you're making a seated dream snap, you gotta design for that. You can use the same exact background you had. You can use the same villagers you had. You would just want to restructure the space around the avatar a little bit. And you may need to move further away from your background if you still want to see the top of it. So just keep that in mind for any further snaps we review from you when we talk about trying a seated pose. That never really means just kind of like plopping down, because this is not as popular with voters. These can still do well, but if you look at, you know, if you look at a lot of the top performers within the community when it comes to seated poses, like if we look at Tanya here, you know, look at how prominently the avatar is featured. When you look at Sunshine, you know, Sunshine tends to perform very well in Dream Snaps. You can see she's right up on the camera, her knees kind of going out of the shot. We get this beautiful view of the avatar here. We'll look at Nelvaria, same thing. We look at Jedi Lauren, also very close. So you saw a lot of these snaps when we were doing the reviews. I kind of assumed that this is what you would attempt to do. But yeah, if you don't have time to tweak it at all, just go with the original. But if you do want to stand, I would consider the hedgehog pose. I do think seated is going to be a very, very good meta play if you're doing a picnic, because it's more relaxed and it showcases the picnic. Sunshine, thank you, my friend, thank you. Much appreciated, Sunshine.
Lurking today as it's a busy day.
Oh my God, I feel you.
Have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you, my friend, thank you. I am sure I will. And yeah, I feel you on the busy day. I've done so much today. I'm trying to power through the reviews pretty quick today. I still have to pack. I still have to do a few things on my checklist, but all day I've been running around getting so much done. I got all the laundry done. I got all the dishes done. I've got things set up for the cat sitter that's going to be coming to check on Horton. I watered the garden, took out the trash, and reserved RSVP'd for my flight tomorrow. Made a checklist for packing. And a bunch of, I also took my bike rack off the car because it's going to be parked at the airport. I don't want my bike on there. And, yeah, I had to take my bike off. I cleaned out my car a little bit. Got some gas. But, yeah, there's still more. I still have to do my Dream Snap tonight. I still have to pack. And there's a few more things on my checklist I got to do. So, I feel you on the busy day, my friend. But after today, I'll have a nice few relaxing days. Thank you so much for the bits, my friend. Greatly appreciate it. So yeah, Tigers, if you have time tonight, if you have the time, I would encourage you to try a seated shot where you play up the meta just like you're playing up the meta here. So, you know, you want the avatar to play a big role. You don't want them to be, you know, kind of tiny in the back. What you would want to do is put the camera on the ground like we showed, and you would also want to highlight, you know, the picnic blanket and set kind of close to the front so we can make the most of like the meals and items like that. And then if you still want to see the background, you know, the camera's going to be a bit lower when you put it on the ground, so you'd want to move away so we can still see this backdrop. If you don't have time for all that, you can just go with the original. But yeah, again, you're not going to like the seated poses more unless you put the same amount of effort in. You know, you got to try to make these look good. Regular scenes are made for this angle. You kind of have to show the same love to a seated scene. You got to build the scene around it. You can use the same environment like you are here. You would just have to adjust a few things. CR Bailey here. So this was the original. And I did like this one. I think this is good for a lazy, cozy day. We have the avatar seated here on the couch watching TV. I love how Lady is kind of interacting with the television here. We have some tasty treats and snacks here. Now, one of the things we discussed were, potentially villagers. And it looks like you swapped Coco to Ambrosia. Oh, yeah, we also talked about, since you're in kind of a more summer attire, we talked about root beer or maybe a different drink than the hot cocoa. And it looks like you swapped it out for... you have Ambrosia. Oh, the Ambrosia looks really good, actually. Nice glow on that. And you got a little root beer here with the straw. We also talked about how the straw for the root beer would match the popcorn buckets. I love that you brought Eeyore in. Eeyore is fantastic this week. Like I said, one of the more relaxed, chill villagers. A little sad, but, I do love that you have Eeyore sitting on the ground enjoying popcorn and watching the movie with you guys. And this is great because I do think you've taken a snap that was already delivering on the theme and you've made it even more competitive by giving it a little bit more villager presence. You didn't turn it into a crazy party, but you added a little bit more storytelling elements. Now we have Eeyore enjoying popcorn, Lady watching the movie, and Kristoff hanging out with you on the couch. So very fun there, very fun. Aside from that, I think this will have a shot at 4K. It just depends on what it pops up against. The last thing is, this week, through a lot of the snaps we're seeing, and every week for that matter, there's a lot of warm notes, a lot of vivid colors in most of my dream snaps, unless, it has something to do with the environment I'm creating. I stray away from white or any kind of pale colorations. So I usually go, there's exceptions, like if marble works really well, I'll use a path that has that marble feel. But in many of my snaps, and it's okay for like the outfit to have like a bit of white or like some details like the papers. But for a lot of like my walls and my floors, and a lot of things with the environments, I find myself usually staying away from the more pale walls, like with the white here. We've seen some really good indoor scenes this week, and you'll notice on some of these really strong builds, they have like the wood notes for the walls. I know that's not the kind of house you're designing, so it's a very different design. But you'll notice, like, in this snap, there's not an abundance of white or pale colors. And then, same thing here with zombies. And they're also using the indoor lighting tricks we talk about in my lighting tips video. If you put certain chandeliers above your scene, they'll cast really nice light, where you get this beautiful light reflection here on the pillow. And we get these very warm notes around the picture frame here. And this helps to play up the warmth of the scene. The challenge was stating, create a relaxed scene filled with warmth, treats, and cozy corners. So having those warm lights, casting that warm light on warm colors, tends to go over very well in indoor submissions. And I think for this one, with it wanting us to make a, warm scene, it could be even more impactful than it normally is. So let me look at another, like in this one we have the Naboo build, very different kind of vibe from what you have, of course. But we have these warm, light beams kind of tracing across from the window over here. So we get these very warm sunlight spots. And then we have chandeliers casting warm light onto the table. And we even have some warm lights behind some of the decor in the back, just to make this indoor environment feel very warm and cozy, because the challenge here was coziness beyond the stars. So what I'm getting at here is, let's say, your submission here ends up, despite being very on theme, despite delivering the theme very well, let's say it still doesn't get 4K. I think it deserves it because I think you're using the villagers really well. I would definitely vote for this. If that ends up happening, like if you end up getting 2,500 or 1,500, What I would recommend for the future is to play up warm colors when it comes to cozy challenges. There's actually two examples. This was Coziness Beyond the Stars, and this was Cozy Holiday Cheer. Both of these did very well. They were both around the top 100. And I think a big reason why is because warmth and warm colors really, really help drive that cozy factor. Again, not something you absolutely have to worry about this week, Bailey. So don't stress out over it. Don't feel like you got to change everything about your snap, like the walls and the floors. I'm just saying hypothetically, if your snap ends up not resonating with voters as much as you had hoped, that's something you can keep in mind for the future. I do think this has a good shot of 4K. Ultimately, it'll come down to what it pops up against, what kind of voters you get. But you've done a really great job with the items here. You've done a really great job with the additional villagers. And you've done a great job with the storytelling. It really does feel like a lazy, cozy day. And, overall, you've incorporated the advice we mentioned in the first snap very well. So, yeah, if it ends up, I think there's a good chance it'll get 4K, but on the off chance that it doesn't, there's tables that can have, a bit more warm notes instead of the, paler wood notes here. And then there's walls and floors you can use, that can give a lot of that nice indoor warmth. And that would also pair very nicely with your, fish tank here, since we have the blue water in the fish tank, and then we have the blue wall behind it. The fish tank will stand out really well against, other walls. You have this nice wood texture here, and you did do a great job kind of adding some effects into the environment. I think your goal here was to make a very convincing kind of chill living room, which you definitely did well. So yeah, overall, great job. Cozy Pixel Girly is next. Hi, Zabai. Thank you for all the great tips in my review. I removed most of the villagers that were crowding the scene. I stuck with only the newest villagers and posed them more interactively. I added a comfy chair. I also tested out another standing pose. I placed more treats about and made my hair more messy and casual. Here are two versions. Here are my two options. I hope this is an improvement. Okay, so this was yesterday's. So a really pretty submission from Cozy here. It's a beautiful shot. We have a great villager presence. Sun is behind the camera. Really good lighting coming in. But compared to a lot of the Cozy snaps we've seen, they're not this busy, right? Since it's a lazy cozy day, we see a lot of people embracing these smaller groups and having more of a peaceful, relaxed scene without as much commotion. So that was one of the main talking points when we did this review originally. So this is the first. Now let's check out the new one here. Okay, very good. Still have the great lighting. You've got your villagers around. You have the picnic set to the side here. And you have a standing one here. And then we have, I think this one is the final one. Well, it's great. You got Tigger sitting in the chair. That's fun. So a few recommendations here for you. First off, since it's a beautiful sunny day, I don't think we really need Winnie the Pooh in his rain outfit. You're not dressed for rain. Nobody is really dressed for rain. There's no clouds in the sky. I think this dream style is going to be fantastic as a storytelling element for certain types of builds. And it is really cute, but it doesn't make as much sense here. The thing is, every single person that we've seen using Winnie the Pooh obviously has this DLC. That means they automatically have Winnie the Pooh in this style. So we have all these snaps that also have Winnie the Pooh, right? All these different snaps that have Winnie the Pooh. Well, they also have the rainy day dream style. So why aren't they using it? Why aren't they using the new style? It's simple. The reason you're not seeing the Winnie the Pooh rainy day style as much in these other snaps is because they are intentionally leaving it out. Because when it comes to choosing villagers for your scene, you always, and their styles, not just the villager, but their style as well. You always want to be very particular. Like, you want to have a reason to use them and a reason to use them in that style. So always think about how it ties into the scene you built. Example of this would be if we look at my Explosions of Color submission, you'll see the outfits I'm using for Dream Styles for a lot of these villagers. Mickey here has his rock and roll style with the bold red, the bold blue, and the yellow, which is covered by a pink petal here. Minnie is in her mermaid style because it's got pink, green, purple. We got this teal. We got the flowers in the hair, so a lot of color here. You'll see we have Daisy in her Magic Kingdom Circus outfit because this is one of Daisy's most colorful outfits. And we have Donald in his Dapper outfit because, we got a nice colorful shirt and tie here. We have Stitch in his Luau outfit because, instead of just blue, now he has the blue, he has the yellow, the red, the flowers. So we're being very intentional, instead of using the villagers and just going with what they have on, we're saying what is going to work best for what we're trying to create here. It's kind of the same thing with Journey into Imagination. The reason we have Mickey in this outfit instead of the rock and roll outfit is because we're hosting this expo, and he's very well dressed with his little bow tie and his little striped suit, and I'm very well dressed with my little bow tie as well, so we're kind of matching. So again, that's very intentional. That's also why Wally's very well dressed. That's why Donald's very well dressed. Like, everybody that had a suit or a nice dress is wearing it here. That's why we have Formal Eric and Formal Beast and Formal Belle. Everything is intentional. It's all by design. Now, going back to your scene, I just wanted, and that's something you can keep in mind, Cozy, for all your future snaps. Like, whenever you use any villager, always think about how they tie into your scene. What kind of story are you telling? What's the environment like? And, how does their outfit play into that? Some villagers don't have dream styles, so not something you always have to worry about. Now, as far as the composition of your new scene, I would try to do something about this grass. It's clipping through your picnic basket. Like, you have this picnic basket here, and the grass is, like, shooting through it, kind of disobeying the laws of physics and reality. So what you could do is you could take a honey pot and put it right there. You could take a small item. Or you can put a little patch of paving that we won't even see. Just make sure you don't use a bordered path. You can put that under this picnic basket. That'll actually erase that grass. It'll erase it. So I call that taming the grass. When the grass is being unruly and it's not obeying the laws of reality, you can just use a little bit of paving. You can use different items, and the grass will be overridden by those items. So you can put a little patch of paving under this, and it will remove that grass. Now, as for which option to go with here, you got Tigger seated in both of them. So, when choosing where to put your villagers, here's another thing I would consider, Cozy. Small villagers, like the tiniest ones, like Buzz, Woody, Piglet, I would put them more towards the front. Because they're, you can put Pooh right behind Piglet, and you'll see both of them very well. Another villager I would be very, very, very sure to use for this scene would be Eeyore. Eeyore is one of the most low energy villagers in the game. And that's why he's so good for this lazy cozy day. You see him a lot this week. There's a lot of really, really good shots. Don't mock me saying Tiglet. I'm sorry, sometimes my brain doesn't work right. There's a lot of scenes where Eeyore is like the primary villager being displayed. And the reason why Eeyore has such a big stage presence this week is, again, it's because he works so well with this concept and this theme. He's very low energy. He's very, he's sad, but he's relaxed, He just works fantastic here. The other thing is centering your shot. I do think since you're using the picnic blanket, it would be great to have that more of the center of your shot, right? That way you can, be here and you can have your picnic basket kind of behind you. You don't absolutely have to do that, but we do see that in a lot of the picnic scenes where, the picnic basket is kind of a central point of focus, if you will. Going back to your snap here, Tiglet. You've got the picnic basket kind of off to the side here. And in the middle, we have a lot of these white flowers. But since the challenge said to create a relaxed scene filled with warmth, treats, and cozy corners, you can really highlight, what you guys are doing and highlight those treats by interacting with this picnic basket. So you're sitting on the ground enjoying the picnic, but you're sitting in the grass and the picnic is all behind you. You could position this in a way to where you guys were right around the picnic, kind of surrounding that picnic blanket, all together here towards the middle. And if you did redesign the front of the scene, it would also give you the space you need to include Eeyore. So I would definitely consider that. I do think you went in a great direction with the avatar here, but just be mindful of things like the grass clipping. And when you design your snap cozy, I would encourage you to always think about your centerpiece, your central focus. So what do we have going on, because that's where the eye is going to be drawn for a lot of photos, is what's going on right in the middle. So here it's me and Mickey welcoming you, and our central focus here is the Main Street Emporium, because the Emporium works really well. We also have a shooting star. So the middle of the scene here has a red carpet with lots of villagers, Main Street Emporium, very different from this week's theme, but, you can make the picnic the main central focus of your scene. In Cherished Childhood here, the main central focus is the biggest storytelling element. The biggest storytelling element here is the birthday party. So this cherished childhood memory is inspired by birthday parties. So we have our avatar here, Buzz and Woody, and our little kitty cat, and then the cake is right in the middle with the movie playing in the background also right in the middle. When we look at legendary moments, right in the middle we have these golden gates, and then we have this Hercules house here with Hercules riding Pegasus with the statue. And, it's not something you absolutely always have to do. You don't always have to play up symmetry, like in this one. There's tools in the middle to kind of allude to the fact that we're building this, but most of the background is not the central focus. Just the foreground is the central focus because we're focused on communicating that we're crafting this birdhouse. Central focus for this one would be the pink castle, the hearts here with the raccoon sculpture, and then the puppies. But like for this one, it's kind of in between the horse and the cowboy, right? So since you're seated and you're doing a picnic with friends for your lazy, cozy day, the little robot pose will slide you a little left. And then you can have Piglet to the right, or Eeyore to the right, or Tigger, or whoever you want. And you can have that picnic basket right behind you, right in the middle of the shot, and then you could be sitting on the picnic blanket. You can have some fun food around, then you can put some flowers on the side. But this is really going to help your snap feel very balanced. And it's also going to sell your primary storytelling element here, which is that you're having a lazy, cozy day, sitting down, enjoying a picnic with friends. Taters is next. Hey, I forgot to mention that I intended to do an after 6 p.m. shop for the lighting, but didn't have time before the weekend. Fix the lighting, remove the stray veggie tray. I also added some books to fill out the corners a bit. Wondering if I should move the cheese tray, remove Remy to the right a touch. Realize my lights are visible at the top. Have an updated photo with that fixed and Remy moved. Can I DM it to you? Yes, stators. You can send it to me right now if you'd like. Go ahead, go ahead. So I think this was the original here. Yeah, because we have the veggie here and we don't have the light on the tables here or on the bookshelves. But we do have some good light on the bookshelves here. And now if you want to as well, you know, you could break up these lights a little bit. Like you could have this light here kind of lighting up these bookshelves, but then you could take this one and move it to the far left-hand side of the scene. That way we have a little dark patch around the window, and we can appreciate the light casting more if the lights have a bit of space in between them. That way, you know, we can see a nice pocket of warm light here and then a nice pocket of warm light here. I mean, if you do want the light to spread across the entire scene, that's totally fine. This is definitely much, you know, this is very good lighting compared to where we were with the first snap. So the lighting here is very good. And by the way, these lights you're using, it does not have to be 6 p.m. For these to cast light. So, you know, for these ones, you can, in my little video guide, there's a handful of chandeliers that will always cast light. And if you don't want the tentacles to be showing here, there is an item in the game called the chandelier. This is called the chandelier of the deep, what you're using. But there is a chandelier that just has candles on it, and it won't have these tentacles that come down. So if you don't want to see the lights, I think the chandelier is a little bit higher up, so it could be something that can hide a little bit better. Now let's see let me see if you sent your other version here. And there we go, there we go. Oh, very nice. Yeah, this one definitely has the best lighting. And you did a great job filling out the foreground here. Yeah, very good, very good. Let me open this. And let me go back and look at your other one, and we'll kind of cross compare. Yeah, definitely, the new one definitely has the best lighting out of the three, and you did a really good job with the foreground as well. So let's take a look at them real quick. We'll kind of cycle through each. Coming back here. Okay, so this was the original. That's the newest. Okay, so original, the one we were just looking at, and this is the newest. Yeah, the light feels very good and crisp here. It looks like I think your time of day is different here. Time of day is actually really important indoors, just like outdoors. This looks like it might be the sunset time of day, which allows for very warm lighting, which works really good for a cozy environment. So this one, the lighting is a bit more pale, but this one we get a nice bold lighting, which also helps to bring out the blue in this rug a bit more, so it doesn't look quite as pale. Another thing I would consider for your avatar design, since you're kind of just inside in your study reading books, I would not, you know, I would dress in something super cozy. Like, I don't know if I would do the big coat. And for a lot of indoor submissions, people are just in their socks. And that shows that you're not going out. I think that's really fun. So if you did want to make any more tweaks to this, that could be a good play. Because with the big jacket on and with the shoes, it looks like you might go out. But if you were to design the avatar for like a stay-at-home day here in their library or in their study, you can set it up to where that is very clear to the voter. Like, it's super clear that you're not going out. I do love the way you've addressed the foreground here. Because, you know, in the first one we talked about, we have some opportunity here in this bottom left corner. So I think it's great that you added the books here on the side. You know, always good to frame your shot. The only other thing I recommend, aside from adjusting the style of the avatar a little bit for more of a stay-at-home vibe, would be playing up the meta of getting closer to your camera with the avatar. Now, I know you have your food here and the whole setup here, but what you could do is you can, you know, if you didn't have the food here, you could be right about here, really showcasing how you design the avatar, and then you could still have the little cheese tray to your right with Remy, you know, in front of it or to the side of it. And then you wouldn't have to worry about having a bunch of stuff behind you because your avatar is going to cover this whole spot here. Not something you absolutely have to do, but the reason I do recommend considering that is because when it comes to the seated shots that we see performing very well, just like regular dream snaps, you know, where we push the camera close to the avatar and voters really love that. This makes up most of what you see in the 4K range. So like 70 to 80% of the snaps in the 4K range have the camera very close to the avatar or very close to a villager if they're hiding the avatar. So this is very popular. It's a very big meta play, very consistent. That same thing applies to your seated shots. So having the avatar right at the front of the frame for a seated shot is also very popular. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have them touching the frame like this. Like in this one, you can see my knee is kind of touching the base of the scene. But, you know, if you look like Jedi's here, you know, her knee's not touching the base of the scene, but she is pretty close to the base here. So bringing your avatar up, getting them nice and close, goes over very well with voters, not with villagers. Goes over very well with voters. And again, you wouldn't have to move her all the way up here, but like maybe right here where, you know, the sushi and the tea are. Like if you have your avatar right there, you're going to be able to highlight her a little bit better. You know, just something, food for thought. This one is really good though. I would keep this one saved to your gallery for sure. And if you do try one with the avatar a little closer, then, you know, if you like it more, you can go with that one. But if you don't, this is a great snap to fall back on because you've incorporated the advice here very well, Taters. Good job. Okay. Next up here, we have Jenny B. Hi, Sabai, thank you for your advice. My original was trying to communicate gaming at a desk, not watching TV, so I pivoted. Well, you know, they make gaming, there's gaming chairs in the game, there's gaming PCs in the game, there's gaming desks in the game. In the environment, you know, you have like brick walls and like red curtains. It's like very elegant. I would say if you're gonna do like your gaming, you know, there's ways to like really deliver that. You don't have to pivot from that concept, but if that's the concept you want to go for, my advice would be to make it extremely clear. Always, you know, consider, I think some of the stuff might be, let me see if it's under Wreck-It Ralph. Gamer desk, right? Here we have a gamer desk. And here we have a desktop computer. Like, these are very old items. They've been in the game for ages. This would work perfect, you know? Like, if you're sitting at the desk gaming, that's what I would go for. I mean, this is actually designed for this desk. You see the way the mouse pad curves with the desk? So this is a item you can find under the Wreck-It Ralph tab. And this could work very well with the concept you're going for. But if you're going with a gaming at a desk concept, you know, having like an entertainment stand and you kind of seated back a little bit, it's going to be way harder to pull that off because, you know, we don't have like a console in the game. You can't hold a controller. So what can we do to make sure voters know that you're gaming? Well, you can sit in a gaming chair. You can have a gaming computer in front of you, and you can have a gamer desk. These things will make it very obvious. But if you're just using regular TVs, a high-tech computer, and like a regular chair, you know, we don't really have the stuff to pull that off. Like if we had a controller you can hold and we could, you know, actually have like a dual monitor system where it looks like a PC, then perfect. But there's no console here. There's no computer. There's not really any indication that you're gaming. But there are items that you can use for that if you want to go for that. You know, there's some great options for you. So if you have time tonight, if you want to go with your original concept, you can definitely make it work if you use certain things. Now, if you did the old Twitch drops, Jenny B, I don't know if you did the old Twitch drops, but there's actually even better items. I haven't done my Dreamsnap. Maybe I'll do this. I love gaming. Maybe I'll do this. I don't know. Because I haven't really seen anybody do this yet. But I think for a good lazy cozy day, sitting around gaming would be awesome. But we have the original Twitch drop gamer table. We have the original Twitch drop gamer PC. And we even have the original Twitch drop gamer laptop. And then we have the gamer chair, right? So we have like, I don't know if you have this stuff. There's also the Dreamlight gaming chair, which came back a while ago. So there's the Dreamlight gaming chair. And there's even a gaming chair that goes with this desk. I think that's also going to be found under Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, Winner's gaming chair. So we have 3 gaming chairs in the game. And you have 2 gaming sets. You have the Wreck-It Ralph gaming set, and then you have the Twitch Drops gaming set. The RGB gaming set looks so sick, though. I think it would be super cool to use if you have them, if you did those old Twitch Drops. But, I mean, you know, you could do something really fun with this. You know, a nice, fun gaming scene. With either one. But, you know, if you really like the idea of gaming for your lazy, cozy day, I say go for it. But, you know, set it up in a way to where it's extremely clear what you're doing. That way it doesn't confuse people. You know, because when we see the 2 monitors and it looks like we have movies on them, and with the environment not really having any indicator of gaming, it'll be a lot trickier to communicate that to the voters. Now, for your new scenes, it looks like you went to one reading a book here. And then you have one here with a kind of cozy beach day, which is fun. So this could definitely work. You know, your outfit looks really cozy and comfortable. I haven't, you know, beachy days have not been super popular this week. So it's very different, which sometimes is good and sometimes it's not good. Right? Because if everybody's doing, you know, something a little bit different, then it shows that other things are a bit more popular. But I have seen a couple of beach days. I have. And, you know, this does work good for a lazy, cozy day, just kind of chilling at the beach, right? And you do have some good villagers in here. Now, for this one, you have some great light coming in here, here on the sides. And you have some good light coming in behind you. You have a good outfit, you know, just wearing the slippers. You have a nice, cozy outfit on here. My main recommendation is if you're going to go inside, I would not only have the light coming in from the windows, but I would also add more warm light to the room. Like, I can see you have these, like, white pedal lights up here, but they're not, you know, they're not going to light up this corner or this environment at all. And if you want to make an indoor build feel, like, warm and cozy, lighting is going to be your best friend for that. So just like yesterday, you know, we had a snap here when we reviewed this snap initially. You know, we talked about bringing in the lighting, and this is how it looks now, right? Big difference. We bring a lot of value, a lot of, you know, the colors. We can see reflections on the bell, reflections on the little globe. Everything's not cast in shadow. Now they have good reading light, you know, and the colors really pop here. Like, look at the red on the carpet yesterday, and now look at the red today. Great saturation. The gold lining on this is showing. So when you do indoor snaps, lighting, actually indoor or outdoor, it doesn't matter. Lighting is so important when it comes to dream snaps. And one of the best things about doing an indoor scene is that you get really good control of the way your lighting looks. But you'll have to take that control if you want to benefit from it. So in this one, you had good lighting. You know, you had some great light casting from these hanging lights, but it was the concept that was hard to understand. For your new one, you have good light coming in from the windows, but I think having some light by the fireplace here could look really good. And keep in mind, after 6 p.m., you'll get some good light casting. It does look like you had some light coming in here because we see some warm notes on this window. Imagine if we had that same warmth kind of on this side. And the other thing is, whenever you do any snap, whether it's indoor or outdoor, when you have like the same items on both sides, you see how you have the fireplace here, and then you have a window here and a window here, and then we have the fireplace here and a window here and a window here. Same space between the fireplace and the windows, almost. You actually have the fireplace closer to this window than this window, but that's what I'm about to talk about next. Balance. It does not take a whole bunch of extra time to balance your snap. In fact, it only takes mere seconds once you've got everything set up. It's all about how you turn the camera. The tricky part is being able to catch it yourself. But when we look at this scene, notice how your window on the left is touching the edge of the frame. But when we look at the window on the right, we have all this space between the frame and the edge of the shot, right? Between the window frame and the picture. So if you were to angle or position your shot in a way to where we had the same distance between each of these windows and the edge of your shot, it would be very balanced. And then also, you want to look for things like this with your decor as well. You're going for symmetry, right? You have the same size photo frame between each of these windows. You have the same exact windows on both sides. So you have a very symmetrical back wall here, but you have the fireplace further towards the right than the left. And then you also have far more space on the right side of your scene than you do on the left side of your scene. Always think about that, and try to program your mind to where when you're setting up your angle, you're actively looking for that. Every time you're setting up a shot, look at the left side of the frame, look at the right side of the frame. Is there more space on the right than there is on the left? If so, just pivot. It'll take a second, and then look for this in your photos. You're good at design. You've got good foreground. You're definitely doing well with your snaps, so you don't need me to tell you about the balance. Balance is important because a lot of the snaps you see in 4K are very balanced. So you want to be in the mindset of actively looking for that yourself. So between your options here, the beach day could work. It is very different. So, it's an option. When it comes down to it, it's whichever one you want to go with. But I'll be honest, if you really want to do a gaming scene, I feel like you should go for it, but you should set it up in a way to where it's very clear that's what you're doing. I mean, you could do a nice little cozy room where you're still in your PJs or a nice cozy sweater, and then you can take this, Wreck-It Ralph gaming set, right? And you don't have to face away. You can be facing towards the camera, kind of showing like, yeah, this is what we're up to. We're playing video games here. And you could have like some kind of item as a backdrop here, and then you can have like space behind you. You could even make like a little wall here indoors with some kind of partition, and then you can have more space behind you for a room with like villagers, and you can have somebody watch a TV in the background. There's so many different things you can do. But if you want to do gaming, I say do gaming. I think gaming would be... I've actually seen another snap where somebody did like gaming for their relaxing day, and it was really good. So if that is indeed what you want to go for, I say go for that because, I've seen a lot of reading, and I haven't seen too many beaches, and I haven't seen a lot of gaming either, but I have seen a lot of cozy indoor vibes, and I think that kind of falls under that umbrella. And again, if you are going to do the reading concept, we talked about this earlier, I would definitely get closer to the camera. I would try to make the avatar more impactful. And just like yesterday, you had some fun villagers indoors. You can always use, some extra villagers indoors here. Remember to be very particular with, the style of your villagers. Yesterday you had Ariel in this like super dazzly dress that, not really the best lazy day kind of attire. So Ariel in like her default human style would feel a lot more casual. So casual is going to work really well this week. Between these two, or between your beach one and the reading one, I think the reading one would likely be the safer option. But I would try to have a bit more light, a bit more warmth, instead of like the pale, brown floor and the dark green wall, maybe more warm colors for your floor and wall, and more warm lights within the environment. Balance, and also being a bit closer to the avatar, and you can kind of surround yourself with your treats. And you can also add one or two villagers. Eeyore is really good if you have them. Very relaxed. But yeah, you can go with either one of those options. Next up is Tazzy. You suggested that I convey being lazy, so I read it a bit, as did an indoor one as well. Okay, so we have this one from yesterday. Okay. Well, Tazzy, you see how yesterday you're doing the meta where you're kind of close to the camera? I'm not sure why, but when a lot of you guys pivot to sitting shots, you're kind of leaving the meta behind. It still applies. When did I become a cat? So just because you're seated doesn't mean you have to zoom really far away and now, be tiny in your shot. The reason we aren't recommending that is because, again, this is not what you commonly see in 4K. You've seen the seated shots, Tazzy. You saw a ton of them yesterday. Like, this is an example of what a ton of people are doing this week, where you have your avatar seated, but they're right at the front of the scene. The same thing can apply for, being seated in a chair. Just because you're... Oh my gosh, I did not mean to click that. Just because you're sitting in a chair doesn't mean you have to zoom up and away, right? Like, you could be in a chair right here at the front of the scene, just like this. And if you wanted to, let's say this was not a gaming chair, just pretend it's not for now. We can have a little fire pit next to us. You can still do the fire pit thing. Well, let's just type fire. Like, you could still have your bonfire, and you can still have the avatar close to the camera, I mean, we could probably put her even closer if we wanted to. I don't know quite how close we can get, but let's see. Yeah, you could even do this if you wanted to. I'm not saying you have to, but, like, keep in mind, Tazzy, keep in mind, you've learned that having the camera closer to the avatar like this is good. So when you're doing your, your standing shots, you've been pushing the camera closer to the avatar because you've learned it works. That doesn't suddenly change when you sit down. You don't just, you don't have to just throw away that concept because you're sitting down. You can still get close to the avatar with a seated shot. Like in this one, you're way back here. We could have you towards the front of this picnic set. And also, you're doing the Winnie and Pooh friends here. Why not use the new picnic blanket? Unless you don't have it yet, but there's like a new picnic blanket that works really good for these guys. There's new rugs you can craft. You have the new rug. It's right here. It's right under your campfire. So you, for whatever reason, in your new shot here with this picnic set, you have the Winnie and Pooh friends. You have Winnie the Pooh DLC decor, but you're just using, this very blue blanket, which doesn't really fit the aesthetic or the vibe quite as good. And in this one, it looks like you're in free mode. So in free mode, you can zoom in, but again, my big recommendation, Tazzy, is, you've learned that having the camera closer to the avatar is good. Let's not depart from that just because we're trying to do a seated pose now, You saw a ton of snaps yesterday. This is why I'm always encouraging you guys, don't just get information from your review. Pay attention to what we're covering. Pay attention to what we're saying is on meta and does perform well. I've showed these reviews, or I've showed these snap examples so many times now. We've spent hours talking about these. So when I, pitch the idea of sitting down and you just don't consider what we've been talking about that works with sitting down, or you abandon concepts that work when standing up, it makes me wonder why. Like, why are we departing from what we've learned? Why are we, not utilizing these same strategies for seated shots as well? Because I'll tell you right now, The players that stay in 4K, they are doing that. So, you know, you want to be considerate of that. You want to be considerate of that because it's been, you know, it's quantifiably provable that voters do gravitate towards these nice close scenes. Lunaris, just going to fill out the right front area of the avatar a bit. Good call. No one wants a grassy pie. Oh, yeah, the pie in the grass. First is the new version. Second is the old. Thank you so much for the advice. All right, so this was yesterday. Beautiful scene. Great seated position. Great foreground. Love this shot. And now this is the new one. And all we really did was move these oak leaves down a bit just so we can get some of their color and add some extra elements to the foreground here. And then we talked about the pie not being on a plate, so we can find a menu item that is on a plate. And now we have a little sandwich here, and we have this leaf down close to the base, which adds some great gold and orange down here at the base of the shot. Absolutely beautiful work here, Lunaris. Again, I love your foreground. I love the framing. You got the camera nice and close. Good sunlight behind the camera. Everything's looking really good. Mama Flash, thank you, my friend. Mama Flash with a big 468. Thank you, thank you. 3269 on the board now. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Yeah, great job, Lunaris. Not much else to cover there. I think you're looking really good for 4K. Bell B, I have a pic to send you, please. Go ahead and send it, Bell. You can send it my way right now if you'd like. First two of the originals. You said the Fireflies are a bit much, and it might struggle against some ones that were more lazy. I struggle with a shadow for my new shot, but I have another one I can send you that's fixed. What do you think? As always, thank you so much. All right, all right. So we have yesterday's. A truly beautiful shot, I think, could very possibly give 4K. Though it is a bit more active and busy than like many of the snaps we've seen that have that lazy, cozy day concept. But, you know, some filters just go based off beauty. So the fact that this is busier and vibrant doesn't necessarily mean it wouldn't get 4K. But that was the main thing we discussed there. Ooh, dang, the new one's really nice. Well, let's save this one. Or no, let's open this one. So then I can open the one from your DM as well. And this is the other one here. Oh, okay. Nice, nice. You got Winnie Pooh in his default style. Okay, okay. Yeah, I think that's a very solid change. I gotta go back to the review tab. There we go. All right. Yeah, very solid, very solid. Let me open your old one again here. And yeah, like we said, you know, the original snap here is very beautiful. I think very strong in terms of beauty. But, you know, with a lot of what we've seen being a bit more relaxed and a bit more lazy, I think this would definitely do well with your, you know, with the voters that are just gravitating towards beauty. But the nice thing here is that this is going to go very well with the voters that gravitate towards beauty, and it's going to go over well with voters that are very theme-oriented. Featuring Eeyore right at the front here is super cute, and the way you're kind of giggling at him being passed out. You even have Piglet looking right down at him. We have some tasty honey and treats around. Beautiful rug around the base. Really good avatar design. You have her nice and close to the camera here. I love the hanging lanterns in the back. Lots of fun warm notes. And I love that you pivoted into the orange butterflies here for the skyline. That's really neat. That's really neat. And we still have fireflies, but they're tastefully back here in some of the dark pockets, so they look nice back there. Honestly, doesn't really need anything. I mean, you know, if by some, you know, miracle you just get a random Mickey cloud right here, I think that would just, like, really tie all of this together so well. But you don't absolutely have to have that. You know, if it just happened to roll by while you're taking the snap, you have such a good spot for one with this nice open skyline here. But I love the butterflies being added in. I think that's a great way to add some details to the sky that's not as busy or active, just more, you know, like natural, naturey kind of vibe. But yeah, I love this snap. And yeah, I think the change here was that you altered Tigger into a more relaxed expression, and you altered Pooh into his non-rainy day look. So yeah, really, really good shot here, Bell. Absolutely beautiful. I feel like this is pretty much locked in for 4K. I feel like this is extremely likely for 4K. It has a really good relaxed vibe. Everybody has a chill vibe here. Eeyore, again, with how relaxed he is, he's such a good villager to highlight towards the front this week. And having him kind of right next to you, I think, is perfect. The avatar design is a very cozy look. Very, mild makeup. Really good portrayal of the villagers. Great background. There's color. There's beauty. But there's a cozy, calm layer to it. So very, 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 very nice. I love your work here. Very good, very good. The first one, again, was also very good, but I think this will win over... people that love beauty and are picky with theme. So really great job. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. Bell with the 200. Crafty Joe with the 100. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Danielle is next. First two are originals. Last two new. Okay, so we have the OG here. And then you got this one. And you got this one. Yeah, well, we don't want to go with this one. We don't want things blocking the avatar, right? So let's get rid of that one. Now, this is, I would say this one is your best one so far. But since we're doing a Winnie the Pooh style environment, do we really need Summer Merlin? Do we need Woody? Do we need Donald? Do we need Daisy? Because you're decorating with all these new DLC items. You could... yesterday you were doing great showcasing all the Winnie and the Pooh friends. Why did we pivot away from that? Because you could be doing something like this. You could have Eeyore, Piglet, Pooh, and Tigger. So if your environment that you're making here, has Winnie the Pooh's house and pots of honey, and it's showing Honeyglow Woods, why not lean into that? Sure, other villagers can visit the area, but why do you think players like Bell here are highlighting this group in particular? Where's Donald? Where's Mickey? Where's Buzz? Well, they're playing up the fact that we have a new adventure pack. They're highlighting the new villagers. We don't need a whole bunch of villagers because it's a lazy day. It's not a big party. You can have a little group of friends. That's going to work very well with the theme. So my recommendation for you here, Danielle, would be to go back to what you were doing right. In your snap yesterday, you had Piglet, you had Eeyore, you had Winnie the Pooh. You can bring in Tigger if you want as well. You don't need the Remy motif. When the challenge says to enjoy a pot of honey with Winnie the Pooh or some cheese with Remy, that's not the challenge telling you you have to use Remy, you have to use Pooh. That's the challenge giving you some examples of what you could do. So I would say if you're going in a Winnie the Pooh direction, embrace that. If you're going to be using the new Winnie the Pooh items, Winnie the Pooh's house, bring in Winnie the Pooh, bring in Piglet, bring in Tigger, bring in Eeyore. Have them featured in your snap. And again, Eeyore is one of the best villagers to use this week because nobody's quite as relaxed as he is. So yeah, I would go back to what you were doing right yesterday, but what we wanted to fix from yesterday was that, we have some opportunity here to fill out the space. And then we also talked about getting closer to the avatar. You did fix the angle because, we're looking down the bridge of the avatar's nose here. And we also said you can hide the fox and you can be looking at something else here. So what if instead of Woody, you had Eeyore laying there just like this? What if instead of you looking at Woody, you were looking at Eeyore and he's laying down right here just like he's laying down right here? What if that's what you had here? And then you can have Winnie the Pooh right here in front of his house. You can have Piglet over here on the side, right? Some really fun stuff you can do. Dee-da-da, thank you, my friend. Tazzy, thank you, my friend. Dee-da-da with the 100. Tazzy with the 200. Getting very close to today's goal. Thank you so much, guys. Less than 1,200 bits to go. Scuttle with another 100. Less than 1,100 bits to go. Thank you, thank you. All right. So yeah, Danielle, my biggest advice for this one would be to stick with what you were doing well. Play up these Winnie the Pooh villagers like you were yesterday. You've definitely filled out the snap much better. So I love the wood path here. I love that you filled out the environment. Instead of Woody, I love that you hid the fox. But instead of Woody, what if we had Eeyore laying right here next to you? And then we had Pooh over here checking out the honey. And then you had Piglet over here, right behind you, maybe like standing on the corner of this blanket. And then if you wanted, you can even have Tigger like somewhere. So yeah, that would be the focus from here. But definitely an improvement. It's definitely looking a lot better. So I think you've done a great job with the fixes here. I would just recommend, sticking with the concept of Pooh and Friends since you have a Winnie the Pooh style build here. Just keep in mind, you always want to be very intentional with who you use and how you present them. Alex Ray Fox is next. Thank you, Mags and Cambria. Thank you so much, you guys. Less than 800 to go now. Let's go. You recommended better lighting, less visible ceiling, and getting closer to the avatar in the primary review. I did all that and also ended up with a different set of villagers because I had Belle, and she's the one I was most excited to be reading a book with since she has the animation with the book. Yeah, Belle's great to use here. So this is yesterday's, and now we have today's. Oh, wow. Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about, Alex. This is a great improvement. So yesterday's, we can see the avatar is appearing pretty small here. We see a lot of the ceiling, and we don't have much good lighting in the room. And for, a library or a study, you're definitely going to want some good reading light. We go to the new one here, and we have a lot of beautiful light in the space here. Everything is very well lit. And we also have the avatar very prominently featured here towards the center of the frame, whereas yesterday she was more towards the bottom and also a lot smaller in the shot. So we have a much better avatar presence. And yeah, you do have Belle in here, which is great. So overall, very, very good improvements here, Alex Ray. Very good. From here, if you have any more, it's already looking a bit better, but if you have any more time to work on it, I do have some other small recommendations. Number one, and again, if you have time, you already have a stronger snap. This is an improvement, but you could continue to make it even more competitive. First off, I'm not sure what time of day you're using, but you do have some good light coming in here. Fallen Angel, thank you for the hundo, my friend. So, your floor, you see how you're using kind of like a pale wood floor? There's some really nice floors you can put in here. I would go with like a cozier color, like a darker shade of brown that's going to play better with these lights. I would avoid too many pale colors, right? Your pajamas are already kind of pale, and then this rug you're on, you have lights above you that are casting some good light on you, but the thing is, when you light up a white item, it just kind of sucks color out of the rest of your scene. There are some, little reading nook areas you can craft with rugs that are going to be, that are going to play a bit better with your lighting. And then since your outfit is a similar color to the rug, you yourself would stand out better if you had like a darker colored rug under you. And then also I would cycle through a few different floor options. You have this very pale brown for the floor. I can show you some indoor submissions here. If we look at Cozy Holiday Cheer, we have this like rustic cabin kind of floor. I'm not saying you have to use this one. This one's a good bit darker. I think maybe too dark for yours. But the reason it works here is because we have these like very vibrant red rugs kind of on top of it. Whatever you pick, you're going to want it to balance with the style of bookshelves you have in the space. If I had the time, I would go indoors and I would look through some and I would recommend one for you. If you don't know which one to pick other than this, you can just stick with this one. I would not choose anything pale or anything white. I would try to pick something that kind of a warm color though. A nice warm color I think would be good. and that is if you have the time to tweak it. Aside from that, you always want to fill out your foreground a little bit, right? You see how this bottom left corner is empty? You do have like this horse here, this stuffed horse, but it doesn't come all the way down to this bottom left-hand corner. And this bottom left-hand corner here is also, well, the bottom right corner is empty and the bottom left corner is empty. You also have a lot of opportunity down here at the base of your shot. If you really wanted to, you know, you could move the avatar down even closer to fill out the foreground. I'll give you an example there. Give you an example. You know, look at this scene. You see how the avatar is all the way down at the base of the shot? This allows the avatar to play a very significant role, and it also serves another purpose. It fills out the foreground. So having the avatar down at the base of the shot is going to fill out the bottom of your scene, which helps you frame the whole scene. And also notice how, you know, Sunshine has the corners full. Now in hers, she's using some tasty treats in the corner. In yours, you know, you could use, like if you took another one of these little book piles, you know, you can have a little pile of books right here if you wanted to, or you can take this book pile and move it down here, and you can put something different right here, like another plate of cookies or something. But a pile of books in the corner here, and then on the other side, you know, you can take this horse doll or stuffed horse and move it down to fill out this corner a little bit. That's going to allow you to frame your shot. You'll notice if you look at a lot of the, you know, high-ranking players, people that consistently perform very well within Dreamsnaps, you'll notice most of them, dang it, you'll notice most of them are going to have their bottom left and their bottom right corners occupied with items. It just helps to frame the shot. When you have a foreground, a midground, and a background, it just adds really good layers to your shot, and this is also a very common approach in photography in general. It's a big part of build composition. So whenever you design a dream snap, you know, dang, Sasha, thank you. You scared me. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Sasha knocking out the rest of today's goal. Let's go. That is super generous of you, Sasha Zito. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Goal number goal number 211 out of the way here. 5,269 bits on the board. Thank you so much, you guys. Last stream of the week, so I do greatly appreciate you guys knocking out, you know, today's and yesterday's goals quite a bit, because I will not be doing any content Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday this week. So thank you for helping us get the bases covered. Much appreciated. And yeah, big shout out. That was a fantastic community effort. Within the past, like, I think 15 minutes, we've had probably like 12 different people send bits. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And y'all drop some love in the chat for Sasha Zito coming in and knocking out the remainder here. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you. So yeah, whenever you make your dream snaps, no matter what you're designing or what you're doing, Alex, always try to be mindful of your foreground, your bottom left pockets, your bottom right pockets, and also down here. You know, look at empty space as opportunity. You could do small villagers like Remy. You could even sometimes do motifs. You can do small decor items. There's all kinds of fun things you can do. But yeah, overall, as we stated, I think this is a fantastic improvement from yesterday. The fact that, you know, you're showing far less of the ceiling, the fact that you're highlighting the avatar better, you've drastically improved the lighting, which is really nice. So overall, you know, very, very solid changes. Looks like Dreamy Luna's was deleted, so I'm going to clear that one. Then we got Beyblade. Beyblade, this was their shot yesterday. We talked about a different outfit. Beyblade said, change the outfit as suggested. Also made Tigger less excitable. I added honey in the foreground in place of the dessert. I'm pretty torn between the first and the third retake, but I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you in advance. First the original, the next 3 retakes. Okay, so OG here. Absolutely beautiful snap. You know, we just talked about a more casual look. And a little bit on the foreground here. Love the honey. I love the cake here as well. I think you said first and third, right? So this one, oh, we got a nice little Mickey cloud. Very subtle, tastefully done fireflies. Then we have this one. So no Mickey Cloud, but you have Winnie the Pooh on the swing. And you even have a bee in the sky right here, actually, where we have this, like, open... no, that's the Piglet clothesline. That's the clothesline. I thought that was sky for some reason. But I love the bee there. Well, Pooh does look good, like, towards the front here. He looks very happy about the honey, and I think that's a great element of storytelling. But in this one, having a, you know, a nice full Pooh sitting on the swing is also really cute. And the seated factor is really fun, so it's super fun that you caught that. But I honestly think the... Oh, wait, first and third. Is this the third? Yeah, actually, I think this... Yeah, I think you're... Which is funny, because I was about to say I like Pooh closer up, personally. Like, he's cute sitting down. So I think you said it's between this one for you and this one. Honestly, you could really pick either one of these, and you're probably going to rank about the same. They both have some really good strengths. I would go with the first one just for the bonus points of the Mickey Cloud. I don't think it makes a big difference when it comes to Dream Snaps. But since these are both so similar, I really like Piglet's happy face here. Like, this is super cute, and it is close to the frame. But he still looks extremely cute here as well, like waving to the viewer. And you got the Mickey Cloud. I feel like you're very safe, regardless of which one of these you pick. You're very safe. So if you can't pick, I'd flip a coin. I think the Mickey Cloud is, like, a little overrated sometimes. I think people put too much weight on it, and I don't think it has as big of an impact. Because if you look at, like, top 3 snaps, like... They might have the Mickey Cloud every once in a while, but it's not like everybody's getting, you know, 4K because of Cloud, you know? It's a cute filler option if you have a nice open spot in your sky. So, I actually like Piglet a lot more here, and he is way closer and more noticeable than the Cloud. But the Cloud is cute. You know, it's a cute filler item, and Piglet still looks good. So, I can see why you're torn between these options. Honestly, I just flip a coin, because you're probably going to get just about the same rank at the end of the day. If I absolutely had to choose, I think I would pick this one. His smile is so big and cute here. It's super adorable. And in this one, you're kind of looking right at him. Whereas in this one, you know, we have the Mickey Cloud, but it is small. Piglet doesn't look quite as adorable. And it almost looks like you're looking in the spot, like, right behind him. Whereas, for whatever reason, in this one, you know, I think you're shifted a little bit more, so it looks like you're actually facing him more directly. So, yeah, if you can't pick, you could flip a coin. They're both really great options, but I think option number 3 here, Beyblade, would be my favorite choice. Very, very well done, as always, Beyblade. Mellow Mode Gaming. Take your advice, replace the motifs with actual villagers, put more texture on the rug, more going on behind the couch. Later reveals that there are dark spots in the room still, so I watched your lighting video, but we'll save that for a future snap. Gotcha, gotcha. Snaps are fun for me, and I don't want to burn myself out on a single theme. Yeah, I feel you. You're not always going to have a lot of time to do as much stuff. I'm happy with a slow build to 4K as I learn new things each time. Perfect. My one exception to motifs was Mo. He's a very important part of the story being told here. I'm running a risk for those who haven't seen WALL-E, but this is one for the Disney fans. They will know why Mo is giving Pooh the death stare from across the room. Excuse me. Okay. So we have the original here. And then we have our new snap here. Let me open both here. Let me open both. Yesterday's and today's. Very good job with the new angle here. Showcasing a lot more of the room. Very nice, very nice. And I love the light we're getting over here on this side. You already had that light there yesterday. Like, you had a good light here because we can see the light kind of hitting the things in this environment. But since we had, like, the dark bookshelf on the side, the fact that you pivoted the angle a bit to where now we focus on the staircase tying off the left-hand side. And yeah, when you want to use a motif, you know, if there's a villager for that motif, like yesterday, you know, with Wally, you know, it's also always better to bring in Wally if possible. Sometimes time won't allow for that, and you can just go with a motif. But if it's for, you know, somebody we don't have a villager for, you could use a motif. Now, the tricky thing there is, you know, like we mentioned yesterday, the tricky thing with motifs is, in a lot of ways, they require the voter to be, you know, to imagine that it's somebody within the environment versus a sticker. Some motif stickers look very convincing. Like, this boot is about the right size to just be a boot here. Like, this looks very convincing. And Gameloft has actually been very good about giving us motifs that are made for snaps. Like, there's a lot, like the music note motif, some of the motifs from Wishful Thinking, and I've even got plenty of snaps that highlight motifs as well. So, like in this snap, I couldn't get the moon from the single, so I used a giant motif here. I also used the coin, the puppy coin, the paw print coin, for another motif because it had two sparkles attached to it. I just put the coin behind the moon so I can have two stars here. And then these sparkles are from the Tinkerbell motif from the tip of her wand. The rest of the motif is out of the frame. This is from the Peter Pan ship motif for those. And then this is from a Cinderella motif, this other star here. And then, you know, there's times where I will use the Wishful Thinking ones. And, you know, you'll see plenty of snaps in 4K that use, like, the sticker motifs. They're just not as common in 4K. So, I tend to be more... I err on the side of caution. There are some sticker motifs for villagers that look very convincing. Like, the Remy motif is very strong, and some of the others are very strong. But like I said, if you want to tell a story with a character we don't have, but you do have the motif, then that could always be an option for you. And yeah, overall, I think the lighting, you know, you do have a light here towards the front, some good lighting around the base here. Bringing in Tigger to look at the stacked honey pots. And, you know, it's just fun because you have a little bit of a mess in the house and you're just chilling, watching TV, so we still have that good kind of lazy day vibe there. If you have any more time and you want to make small changes here, Olaf warming up by the heater is also really cute. What could be fun to help fill in some of this space would be like a laundry basket or the pile of socks. You know, you can kind of highlight that you're neglecting your household chores to have a lazy day. Could be very good for storytelling as well. In fact, we had, you know, some similar examples of that. So like in this one, you know, we have a little basket of laundry here. And I think in Zombie's new one, they had the pile of socks there as well. There we go. Wings of a Daydream next. Oops. Suggestions. Utilize character lighting, Chandelier of the Deep to enhance the lighting. First, the original 2 and 3 are new. I started to spiral a bit, but I hope I was able to incorporate your suggestions properly. Thanks again for being so helpful and kind. Oh, of course, Wings, of course. Thank you. So, first, the original here. This hedgehog is so cute. Okay, very nice. We got this one as well. It looks like you had one more here. Yeah, the character lighting definitely helps the avatar stand out. Character lighting is always going to be very helpful when you have the sun in the backdrop here. The hedgehog looks really good. I do wish character lighting applied to pets, you know, but you actually have great lighting on him. I'm guessing it's from that chandelier of the deep, so he actually comes through really nice here. I love that you're seated in Pooh's thoughtful spot, and you have Tigger kind of marching down, you know, this way. That looks really good. The balloon looks great in the back. Yeah, overall, I think you've massively improved the lighting here. I do love the saturation on this one. The colors feel very warm. The avatar stands out well. The hedgehog looks super cute here on this first one. And now for your newest one, your most recent one, you don't have the saturation as high, but I would say in this one, your lighting feels the most natural. So this one is also really good. Honestly, all of your remakes are very solid wings. You could choose any of them. I mean, look at the difference here. Avatar yesterday versus Avatar today. Like, she really stands out here. So, I think she stands out the best in the most recent one that you sent. Yeah, and I can tell in this one, the character lighting stopped working for you, which is kind of a pain. Also, in this one, you have the raincoat Pooh. And I do think, you know, the classic Winnie the Pooh look is working well for this one. So yeah, your most recent one that you sent, I would either go with that one or I would go with option number 2. The saturation here does look really good. The sun looks fantastic. The only downside to this one is that, you know, the saturation is very strong, and when you don't have like lighting at the front as much, like when the sun's in the background, some of the colors will kind of blend together a bit. I like it, but, you know, sometimes the heavy saturation can be an issue. I'm sure some voters would like option 2 the most, and some voters would like the newest option the most. Personally, I like the newest one the most. I think it captures the sunset really well. The avatar looks the best in this one, I feel. And, you know, you got the whole cast looking really good here, and the new hedgehog. I feel like this is very likely for 4K. Honestly, they both are. Whether you go with the more saturated kind of orangish one, or if you go with the one that feels a little bit brighter without the heavier saturation. But yeah, I would probably choose this one if I were you. But yeah, really good job. I think you did great with you know, it's technical when you start working on capturing the sun in the back of a shot. It definitely takes a lot of adjusting the camera settings to get everything to still, you know, really pop within the photo. Mags is next. First of the original advice was change the table and less is more in regards to villagers. I was also able to change Eeyore's pose, which I like better. Tried for an hour to get the hedgehog up front by my feet again, and it would not cooperate.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
Wings! Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a wonderful vacation.
I am sure I will, my friend. Thank you very much for the bits. It's very kind. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having some nice, relaxing time. You know, I'm gonna take it so easy. I biked like, you know, 8 to 10 hours straight Saturday and Sunday for GoFest, and then since I came back, it's been like prepping for the trip and like knocking out the reviews. And last week we had all the Twitch drops, and you know, the week before that we were getting ready for the update, and the week before that we had the showcase, and I'm very excited for just some nice R&R. Thank you, my friend. So, oh, and in regards to the less is more with villagers mags, just keep in mind that's not always the case. Sometimes more villagers is really good. It's going to be more theme reliant. So for a theme like this, like a cozy, lazy day, I think less is more. But for a theme like an expo, I think more is great. You know, just depends on the kind of vibe and the theme, you know. Hey, we got a big raid coming in here. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Console. Is it Kaido? Oh, yeah. Welcome. Thank you so much for the raid. Great to have you guys. We're in the middle of our Dreamsnap reviews right now. Okay, so for mags here, yeah, what we discussed was changing the table just to eliminate some of the white there. And then we talked about Eeyore's pose, and you said you do like the new pose better, so that's great. I tried for an hour to get the hedgehog up front by my feet, but it would not cooperate. Decided to forget it. I do like the second one better. Perfect, perfect. As always, thank you so much. You're very appreciated. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you, Max. Thank you. So this was yesterday's. So it looks like we've... Okay, nice, nice. Yeah, I love the new pose for Eeyore. Very good there. And you've opted out of the white cloth table here for... You know, so it's a little bit of a smaller table, so it doesn't feel as much like a banquet. It feels more like a little lazy day kind of, you know, snack scene. I love having you here by the fireplace. I think this is a great foreground play. And then also, you know, Piglet right here at the front is great. For the hedgehog, if you want a little tip on getting him back to the front of your scene, I don't know if you tried this. You might have. But if you put a cozy companion ball right here. Now, keep in mind that you can't have the hedgehog attached to you for this. So what you can do, Mags, is you can take a cozy companion home, and you can put it off to the side to where it's not in the shot. Like you can put it to the left of these flowers at the front. And then you could take a cozy companion ball, and you could put it right here. It might take about 5 minutes for the hedgehogs to register that there is a ball near the house. So 4 to 5 minutes. Just give them 4 to 5 minutes. You can go get a drink or watch TV while they recognize it. And then they're going to start walking up to that ball on occasion and interacting with it. This is actually how I get a lot of my companion scene shots. Like for legendary moments, you'll see we got our little Cerberus puppy right here at the base of the scene. And not only is he there at the base of the scene, he's also arching up, you know, to make him very visible. And the reason we were able to do this is because we put that Pixar ball right outside the shot. Like you can't see it, but it is there. And we're using a cozy companion home behind the camera. So this little puppy would kind of walk in, he'd walk around, and then he'd play with the ball. Sometimes he wouldn't be at the right angle, but after I waited about 15 minutes, you know, he came up at the right angle, he played with the ball, and we were able to get the shot. Now, luckily for you, you're not trying to get the hedgehogs playing. You're just trying to get them in the scene, like over here towards the front. So all you would need to do is, instead of having the hedgehogs equipped to you, you can equip them to a companion home outside of your scene, and then you can put a little, Pixar ball down here or a little food bowl, and the companions, after they register that it is there, they will start to interact with it every minute or so. So that could be a great way to get them in there if you wanted to. But overall, Mags, very solid, very solid. Definitely has the good, cozy vibes, a bit more relaxed with a little bit less, a little bit less energy, fewer villagers, and less of a grand banquet and more of a lazy day picnic or a lazy day, snack vibe. Again, I love the foreground here with the fireplace and Piglet. Very good, very good. Gryffindor Panda is next. Hi, Sabai. I added to my background a bit to fill out the forest and scooched Eeyore up into the scene more. I also changed out the skirt outfit you mentioned to better complement the fox pose and changed Winnie the Pooh out of his new outfit. First is the original, second is the update. Thank you. Okay, so this is the first Dreamsnap that we reviewed. Yeah, we talked about the default style being a bit better here since it's not a rainy day scene, and Pooh's Pooh's default colors are going to play very well with the environment here. And, we talked about Eeyore being very impactful this week, so let's see what we got here. Oh my gosh, let's go. Very nice, Gryffindor. Very nice. So really great job with the foreground here. You really did a good, awesome job capturing the new hedgehog here. You took your shoes off to be even more relaxed. That's super fun. Your outfit definitely feels more like a lazy, cozy day kind of vibe. Like the PJ kind of pants, the socks, like you're out at a picnic, but you didn't even bother, getting all dressed up. So I think it really complements the lazy, cozy day kind of feel here. Great job with the interaction with Piglet. Winnie the Pooh is looking fantastic here by the honey. And I love that you got Eeyore slinked into the shot here. Good details in the backdrop with some beautiful flowers. Yeah, really good job. And we had the hedgehog way back here yesterday. I think a lot of people would miss him. And you did have Eeyore, but now, he's super noticeable, kind of slinked in there, and the little hedgehog's looking at him. This is so cute. I gotta say, Gryffindor, you've just been doing a really good job with your snaps. It's been great. It's been great to see all your improvement. Very well done here. Very well done. My last little recommendation here is it does look like you have some shadow on your immediate area here. Like, we can tell the pie and the sandwich, like this little spot here is kind of in the shade. So don't forget about the lighting trick we discussed, where you take the chandelier of the deep and you put it in front of your scene to where we can't see it. Keep in mind, it has to go on a large table. The game will not let you place it without a large table, but it is a very, very good way to light up the front of your scenes. That's how we were able, in Explosions of Color, that's why we were able to get these rainbow flowers to be so vibrant, is because we have a chandelier of the deep on a table to the back left and to the back right that you can't see, that are helping to light up that foreground. But yeah, very good job. Very good job. Great work. And, you don't absolutely have to worry about adding the lighting here. Like, you have a lot of lighting here, so you don't need it. But we do have a lot of shade here on the left side. So a chandelier of the deep on this side could help to light up some of this. But if you don't want to work on it anymore, it's looking really good. So I think you have a great shot of 4K with this. Meredith is next. Here's my original snap of the new one. Changed the location, made the picture brighter. Also added some other snacks. Thank you for the advice. And time. Of course, of course. So this was yesterday's, I think, here. Looks like you added some snacks. Yeah, I see you got, like, the croissants here. Now, when it comes to snacks, Meredith, you don't have to use things from your furniture menu. You can drop items from your pockets, and that's usually going to be a lot better. So, if you look at, if we go back and look at the snap we were just reviewing, right? Notice how in Gryffindor Panda's shot, she's not just using, items from the furniture menu. She actually made a cake. She made a pie. She made a sandwich. She made the honeyed milk. She made the waffles. And she made a cheese spread. And then she took the time to drop those items and display them in her build. That is showcasing a lot more effort than, just dropping food from the furniture menu, because you don't have to go to your inventory, you don't have to make anything. And also the food that you can cook and place is going to typically look a lot better than the furniture mode food. So I would be very considerate of that. Honestly, your first picture is better. So unfortunately, I feel like it did not quite move in the direction that we had hoped. Your lighting is much warmer here. Your colors are much better. We did want to, we talked about highlighting food, but, in your new scene, you see how warm this is because of all the yellow trees and the yellow light and the beehive here. And you also have the scene filled out a lot. In your new scene, there's a lot of emptiness, and we don't have as many of the warm colors. And also, your sun is not behind the camera here. That's one of the biggest differences. So we don't have the sun behind the camera. We don't have the good lighting. I would recommend just going with your original. I think this is going to be a much better choice. So that's why we always save the original. Sometimes the remakes just aren't gonna, they're not gonna quite work in the things we were discussing the way we were hoping necessarily. Yesterday you had Winnie the Pooh in his default style, and we've been talking about how good that is because it's a sunny day. It's pretty. Today you've switched him into this rainy day style, even though it's not a rainy day. And you have the villagers further away, which is another thing that, we don't recommend. You want, most of the time, it's good to have the villagers up close. Voters really have proven time and time again that they really like that. And then, what we wanted to see, what we really discussed here, were highlighting the treats a little bit. We talked about how instead of the big flowers here in the foreground, you could have, a little spread of some treats here on the left and right. And we also talked about making it, more of a relaxed day by making it less busy. You think about why isn't everybody using the Storyteller Fire this week, right? Let's look at some of our Well, actually, I don't have the time to go as into detail. We've already covered it. So if you've been watching, you kind of know where I'm going with this. A lot of our high-end players, like a lot of people that get 4K pretty much every week, you'll notice their scenes this week aren't full of like storyteller fires and fireworks and like a million fireflies and like a whole bunch of extra stuff. Why? Like, why aren't they doing that this week? That's what they usually do. Because the challenge was to make a relaxed scene. So you don't want it to feel too busy or too energetic. That's why most of these players aren't using the storyteller fire this week. They're trying to make a really relaxed, cozy scene. This is very pretty, and a lot of voters will choose just based on pretty. But, you know, for the pickier voters, making sure it feels more relaxed is good. But yeah, between the two, first is way, way stronger. Unfortunately, did not go quite in the direction we had hoped. Griffey is next. I basically started over and tried to implement your suggestions, retake its first snap. So this was Miss Griffey's first review from us. And we spent a lot of time on Griffey's snap yesterday, so I'm very excited to see what she came up with. So Griffey submitted for the first time. And what we talked about was, since the advice is geared towards getting people into 4K and not just landing there on occasion, but staying there, you know, we talked a lot about how most snaps that you take in this game are going to be beautiful, but at the competitive level, when you're looking at some of the scenes that are handcrafted with lots of intricate details, where somebody's highlighting their, you know, ability to design and decorate, a picture by a lake is absolutely beautiful. But the tricky thing is, you know, how is it going to perform against a handcrafted scene where everything in the environment has been placed and designed by the player? So what we discussed yesterday for Miss Griffey was to showcase those building skills, and we also talked about the meta of being a bit closer to the avatar and straying away from the you know, more upward angled shots. Portrait mode or being closer to the avatar can always be really good. So we got the new one here. Very nice, very nice. Okay, a great step in the right direction, Miss Griffey. Fantastic, fantastic. So we went from yesterday's, which, you know, you had the picnic blanket, you have a stool, and you have a tree, and we have a few flowers. So it's a pretty scene, but compared to a lot of your 4K competitors, it's going to be very hard to beat them with a scene like this. So the main thing we wanted to see was you highlight your ability to decorate, and not only highlight it, but enjoy the process. Have fun making this scene. Really enjoy it. And it looks like you did, because you did a great job with this. You got this new house behind you, nice window, little cozy nook here, good cozy corner. We got some treats laid out here, which works very well with the theme. You have these beautiful flowers in the foreground. Nice trees in the back with these little lanterns hanging down. Overall, very solid job, very solid job. I'll give you one last little fun tip, Miss Griffey. If you're interested in getting a villager to sit in this chair, all you would have to do is build a little fence around this scene. Make sure it doesn't come into the scene because you don't want to see the fence. And then whoever you want to sit in the chair, don't toggle them, just trap them in there. You can toggle the other villagers to kind of stand around, and the one that is not toggled, they're going to walk around your scene, and eventually they'll sit down as long as they have enough space to reach the chair. So if you ever want to do that, it's just a fun little thing, you know, if you ever wanted to play with getting a villager to sit down. Not something you absolutely have to do, but, you know. My last little tip here would be for balance. If you could find a way to get maybe a little bit of a tree edge coming into this left-hand side, because you see how on the right-hand side, you see how on the right-hand side we have the whole skyline filled out with this very nice red roof, and then we got the green tree, then it goes into a yellow tree, and then we go to more of the open sky. A little bit of a tree kind of coming in on the edge here could help fill out both the right top and left top corners. But yeah, I love the way you've layered these flowers. I mean, this is just a huge improvement from where you were yesterday, and I cannot wait to see you continue to improve in the future. Really good job. I hope this gets 4K. There's a lot of great snaps out there, so it'll come down to what you pop up against. There's definitely people that are being a bit more meta competitive, which, you know, by that meta, I just mean most effective tech is available. And when it comes to what's effective in Dreamsnaps 4K, if you look at snaps that are getting 4K consistently. There's certain things you're going to see a lot of, like people playing the camera very close to the avatar and very close to the villagers. This is extremely popular with voters. And the big reason why, my guess, we know it's popular, but my guess as to why it's popular is because a lot of people vote on handheld devices like the Switch or Switch 2 or Steam Deck or Apple Arcade. And when you play the avatar and villagers close to the frame, it makes it to where they don't have to necessarily enlarge the photo to break apart the story that you're trying to convey. But, that's something we can build on in future snaps as well. But amazing to see your talent on display here with this new scene. Very, very good job. Model Newbie is next. The one you like the most suggested day windows. If I do the center frame, angled chairs, like the lounge with the phone scrolling, suggested to push the camera forward. Yes. So this was yesterday's. So we have the daylight coming in, but we have like the nighttime windows. So we talked about maybe a different style window here. And we also talked about getting closer to the avatar. We talked about ways that you could have the avatar kind of in the middle of the room, because I know what you were concerned with was that you liked this scene, but you were saying it felt weird without, with the avatar just kind of sitting there. So we talked about ways you can do that. Now in this new one, you have done that. You still have the avatar sitting towards the middle of the room, but in this one you've put a nice little honeyed milk next to you on a table, so now you have a reason to sit there. You're enjoying a nice cup. So very fun there. And Max looks really good. I do think good lazy day villagers are strong this week because of what the theme said. Since it said, enjoy a pot of honey like Winnie the Pooh, or, some cheese with Remy. So since it mentioned villagers, I think it is a very good idea to use a villager. But if you're not going to use a villager, Max is probably the second best thing. So I'm glad you got Max and Percy in here. And this definitely looks strong. I like the style in the avatar. No makeup, very casual, no shoes, no socks, very relaxed, very relaxed. And I love the bed shots because you can actually, or any of the couch shots where you're scrolling on your phone. It's super fun. The lighting here is actually really good. The fact that you have this nice warm lighting coming in from the windows, like hitting the bed, this looks great. And in this one, you're actively interacting with your phone, showcasing what you're doing on this cozy, lazy day. You're playing on your phone, you're sitting in bed. This is really good. I would say between the two, Model Newbie, I think your most recent option here is very solid, because in this one, Percy's facing the camera, Max is facing you. You have great light hitting the bed, great light hitting the side of the avatar. You're telling a story with how you're posing with the phone. And this one's solid as well, but this one, lighting is great. The dogs are both positioned very well, and the storytelling element, I think, is very good. So really, really well done here. The fact that we went from this to this is amazing. And you did a great job playing up the meta by getting closer to the avatar here. Like we said, this is something you see a lot in the 4K range. It doesn't guarantee 4K. Ultimately, your performance is going to come down to what you pop up against and what kind of voters you get. But when it comes to what we see in the 4K range, a vast majority of those submissions are highlighting the avatar very prominently. And if they're hiding the avatar, they're highlighting a villager very prominently. So yeah, very good job. Ultimately, it's your call which one you choose, Model Newbie, but I love this one. I think this one's fantastic. I think you did a great job with the advice. T-Dow is next. Hey, Zamai, first two picks are my old ones. You said you like the seated position better, but to bring the character closer. I figured it out. I didn't even need my husband's help this time. Oh, let's go. Look at you, T-Dow. Well done. Changes brought the character closer, added some different treats here and there, some wooden planking under the table, and minor villager position changes. All right. So this was yesterday's, and then we have today's. Okay, you even got Piglet sitting down on the chair. That is adorable. Great light behind the avatar. I love Eeyore slinking in here. We have some nice laughter from the villagers. Very cozy outfit as well. Mild makeup. some good food items here. Yeah, so yesterday, you know, you're a bit further away. We get a little bit more of a side profile. Don't get to see the front of the face as much. Tigger's kind of laughing by himself. Pooh's laughing by himself. But now you're doing a bit more storytelling. You have a super cute interaction over here. Piglet looks super cozy. Eeyore is just being Eeyore. And you're reaching for the cookies here. Overall, T-Dow, you did an absolutely fantastic job with the advice. Hi, buddy. Oh. I had to put my cat in his bed. He wanted to get in his cat bed. Hi, buddy. Great job, T-Dow. Great job. Fantastic work. No further recommendations. You incorporated everything we discussed perfectly. Dekai said, you said try some fireflies. I added those. I also wanted to try the lazy Eeyore pose. I was excited to get the new hat, so put that on, but can change if it doesn't work. Okay. So, yeah, this would be yesterday's, and now today's. Okay, nice. Some tasteful little fireflies, you know, not going crazy with them. We got some over here. We got some over here. And this Eeyore pose is really fun, but I'll be honest, I with where you have him. So the new Eeyore pose, or this Eeyore pose, I think is fantastic, but I think it works best from like a side angle. So he's kind of slinked out. So the way your scene is designed, I honestly think your original Eeyore pose might be the better option. It is super cute because he's kind of eyeing the treats. I think it tells a bit more of a story. In this one, you know, he's slinked to sleepy, so this works as well. But I think for this particular pose, it looks really good from a side angle. Whereas for this one, you know, I love the way he's kind of checking out the picnic scene. And, I mean, if you want to keep the hat, you can, but it does add a good bit of razzle-dazzle to the villager, and I do think from what I've seen from a lot of the snaps this week is that the more calm, casual, cozy looks seem to be kind of dominating the meta this week. So, you know, we'll see what does well, you know, when results come in, but from, you know, a lot of the high-end players I've seen, there's more, you know, like wearing the hair down and not having as many accessories seems to be going over well. You know, the makeup's great because it's very mild and muted, you know, not super bold. But I actually like the original a bit more. So if you didn't want to do any more tweaks, if you want my opinion, I would say the OG Snap is cuter. I think it looks the cutest between the two. And they're both equally beautiful. But I think this one feels a bit cuter. Eeyore just looks adorable here. Now, if you did, you know, if you do want to go with a new one, feel free. I think it still has a great shot of 4K. But I would say the Eeyore pose from yesterday, I think, was really fun. And I think I like the avatar more without the hat, but that's just me. Overall, beautiful snap. Sabelina, your advice was to make Tigger more relaxed, and I also did Pooh more relaxed as well. Put some food and flowers in the corner. Also unlock some things from the pack and put them in the back. Okay. So, oh, nice. Yeah, yesterday's. Very energetic here, but, you know, we have some opportunities towards the foreground. And then we look at today's. We have some great treats down here. With the pie, it is kind of in the grass. I would maybe choose, I mean, it's probably not a big deal. People don't care. I mean, but you could choose a meal that has like a little plate or something. But if you want to do the pie there, you know, that's okay. You got Tigger in a more relaxed pose, and you did add some awesome stuff. Like, you really utilized your opportunity spaces very well with the new snap. Oh, it also looks like you filled in the skyline more. Yeah, you brought some extra trees in. Yeah, this looks really good, Lena. This looks really good. Between the two, the new one definitely feels far more relaxed and also more balanced and filled out. I would say it's a very solid. Ultimately, it's up to you which one you like more, but I gotta say, I think you really knocked it out of the park with the new one. Fantastic work. Crafty Joe Your advice was to get Belle to sit, get my pose to where I'm reaching, change the purple hair and top, get closer to the camera. All right. So yesterday's here. Yeah, we wanted to go for a more casual, lazy day look if possible. And then, play up the meta by bringing the avatar closer. So let's see the new one. Very good. Great style in the avatar. She feels super cozy here. We get the socks, no shoes. The hair feels a lot more like, just a casual kind of look. Great job getting Belle seated. I know you probably had to wait a little while for that, but you did it. You took the time. And you also have these lights back here casting great light onto the walls. And you're playing up the meta by having the avatar right at the front of the scene. So I gotta say, Crafty Joe, this is very solid. Not only that, but you've applied everything we've been discussing about balance. The fact that you have the exact same amount of space between the edge of the frame in this window and the edge of the frame in this window is perfect. So your balance is optimal. Your lighting is very good. You got your avatar close to the frame. You're utilizing Belle in a really great way. If you wanted to do anything else to this, up to you. It's the last day, so you really don't have to. But if you wanted to, you can always, there are little companion homes, like the little companion bathtubs that you can put inside. And if you attach like a couple kitty cats and get them walking around, I would put the companion bathtub out of the frame because I don't think it would fit with your scene. But if you put down the little companion tub and you attached a couple kitty cats and had them walking around in your scene, that could be super cute. But again, that's a small thing, not something you absolutely have to do. Great job, great job. Horizontal. Thank you for the advice. I added some leaves and acorns around, bring out the flowers. Giving Tigger some of Poppy's ADHD medication, so he's chilling out, sat down for 5 minutes. What do you think? Any other improvements? All right, so we got yesterday's here and today's here. Yeah, very solid. It's awesome you got Tigger to sit down. That's fantastic. He looks really cute when he sits. Also, the avatar herself looks a lot more calm and relaxed here. Whoops. Pooh looks just as good as yesterday, but he's kind of facing the camera a bit more here. Piglet looks really relaxed. And yeah, you've added in some of these beautiful little oak leaves into the scene. No, nothing else. Very solid, very solid. Beautiful waterfall in the back. Great job, Holly. Great job. I love Tigger on the bench, by the way. That's so cute. Birdie is next. Second photo is the retake. Added the leaves, as suggested. Also added villagers to fill out the space. And added a few more carefree guys. I'm curious as to your thoughts. Thanks for the insight. Of course, of course. So, we have, I think, yesterday's here. Yeah, this would be yesterday's. This would be today's. Well, I love how chill everybody looks here. And you did add the little oak leaves here. Now, I would say, if at all possible, if you could position the oak leaves where they would... Oh, you do have one here. It's just kind of covered by tramp. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is have one somewhere we can see it. I mean, it would be great to have one here, but I think the footprint of this bench is going to prevent that. I do like how everybody's kind of gathered around the campfire, and it does feel very relaxed. Like, nobody's jumping around. Everything's nice and chill. Both options are... I think both options are really fun. I will say on your original, it looks like your saturation is a little bit better. You see how vibrant the green is here versus here? So I think on your original shot, you might have had the saturation boosted a tiny bit more. And I do think that that slightly increased saturation is going to be your better option. So if you did want to go with, the newer crowd, I think having the slightly adjusted saturation here is going to make this pop a little bit more in the voting phase. And, I talked about this with some snaps. I feel like for this week, when it comes to villagers, less is more. Since it's a lazy, cozy day, I wouldn't go too crowded. You could do a camping trip with, Pooh and friends if you wanted to. But, if you have your heart set on, camping with a lot of villagers, be my guest. Though what I've seen more often than not this week is a lower number of villagers than normal. So most people are rocking between like 2 and 4 villagers. Some people have gone over that, but it seems that the general consensus here is for the lazy cozy day vibes. the smaller crowds seem to be preferred by a lot. We got Scuttle. Can I please get a DM from a mod with the timestamp? Sorry to be a pain. I'm still a bad reception and may not be able to get the stream live versus the original. You suggested adding the vignette back in at not back in at -1. I was saying to have the vignette border at 0 so it's active. I was saying you had it at either +1 or -1 in your original. That's why there's no vignette border. So I was not saying to have the vignette border at -1. I was saying to have the vignette border active. So let me check my uptime. Or actually, one of the mods can do it. I have to keep moving. I have to keep moving. So my suggestion, Scuttle, is to have the default vignette border on. So yesterday when I mentioned -1, I was saying that since you have no vignette border, you must have your vignette at either -1 or 1. So I was saying to go with the default vignette. So the vignette is on by default. So that would be 0, 0. Because the vignette border, the natural vignette border would look really good because you have very bright items in the corners. But we won't be able to see that one. And I know you're kind of traveling, so time is a little bit of the essence. I do think the outfit change is very solid here. It feels way more casual. And between your 3 options, I think option 2 is the best, actually. I like the kind of torn and tethered jeans. The cardigan's really cute. You reaching for the honey pot is fun. We have Eeyore slinked out here. Don't worry too much about the vignette border. I was just saying I would like to see it with the default vignette since we do have glowing flowers on the sides. Again, I mentioned -1 because I assumed this was at -1 or it could be at +1. I was just saying I could tell the vignette border was not at 0, and I was essentially just saying I'd like to see the default vignette border. -1 would look just like, it would look just like your original. So -1's going to be the exact same. I do think your original felt more saturated, but I also think it's because the outfit is a bit more colorful. But I think the cozier vibes here are definitely good. I like this outfit the most. I think it's one of the more relaxed. And I do think the gray pants kind of break up the fact that we have a lot of color here. The blue eyes look really good. Overall, very solid. And yeah, like I said, out of the new ones, I would say your second option here. These two are very similar, but I like the second option because the fireflies, they're a bit heavier here, but they're tastefully done. Johnny is next. Hi, Zebai. After review and after seeing other snaps, I read mine a bit. Your suggestions was to focus on makeup and critters to make sure it was more on theme, but I also gave more of a chill vibe to the snap. Also trying to feature the hedgehog better, but can't decide which one to use. Thanks for your help as always. First pick is OG. All right, so we have the OG snap here, and now moving into this one. Oh, I do like the new look on the avatar here. Very nice, very nice. Oh my god, that hedgehog looks adorable. And Eeyore looks super cute back here as well. Okay, so I would definitely say the one where he's facing towards the camera. Like, he's looking right into my soul, and I'm here for it. Like, that's super fun. Yeah, overall, very solid changes. Very solid changes. Great lighting. I mean, if anything, I'm not sure how high your saturation is, but since it's sunset time of day, you could probably... A lot of the stuff in the Honeyglow Woods is already very saturated. I would say if you're above 0.3, I would bring it back a little bit. Like at sunset, a 0.2 to 0.3 saturation is really all you need. I mean, you don't have to, but I feel like some of the more... it's hard to tell if the hair is brown or red here. And with how vibrant some of the yellows are from the honey, I think having the saturation around 0.2, 0.3, if it's already there, you can just leave it. But yeah, between the two, I definitely like where the hedgehog is looking at us. That's super cute. And I definitely think you made it feel a bit more relaxed. Feels more like a lazy, cozy day. Because in this one, we had like Pooh celebrating. We had the fireworks. We had Tinkerbell. We have a lot of makeup. We have the rainbow bird back here. We have Tigger jumping around. This feels very relaxed, which I think plays up the theme very well. So yeah, I think you did a great job here. And again, wonderful job with the little hedgehog. Great work, Johnny. Great work. Poppy is next. Thanks for the feedback. Only suggestions were to move the windmill and possibly some food by the rug. Also brought in Tigger. Got daytime sunset shot. Not liking the shadow in the corner for the sunset shot. As always, thank you for the first. Thank you for your time. First the original. So OG here, and then the new here, and then this one here. I'm gonna be honest with you. The sunset looks so good. It looks a lot better in my opinion, and also the more saturated bold colors. You got your saturation perfect for this. It's not too high. And if all you're worried about is this tiny bit of shadow, I think you're worried about nothing at all, my friend. I'll be honest with you. When you do sunset shots, when you're seated and you push the camera forward, there's always going to be a tiny bit of shadow. It's always going to be something you'll see. But if it's covering like a villager, it can be a little bit of a pain. But like, for example, right, Cherished Childhood, I'm doing the same thing. And I actually have a shadow right on top of Remy. Do I like the shadow? No. But am I going to change my time of day just to fix Remy and this tiny corner? No. And this was still a top 1,000 submission, right? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. When the shadows become a problem is when they're covering a lot of a build. But I would not trade all of this wonderful warm color. Because again, it's said to create a relaxed scene filled with warmth, treats, and cozy corners. What looks warmer to you? I would be willing to bet the one that looks warmer is the one with the warm colors. And that really helps to amplify the cozy vibe. Do you really want to sacrifice that just to not have a shadow on a loaf of bread? Like, don't overthink this tiny shadow, my friend. Don't overthink it. Everything else is perfectly well lit. I mean, ultimately, it's your call. You can go with whichever one you want. But, yeah, in my opinion, this is the better option by far. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. Mamie Beer. Torn which one to submit. Okay. So we got this one. It looks like you toned down the villagers. Less is more. Very nice. We got a nice cozy little gathering here. Very good. Very good. I do think if you're doing like Honeyglow Woods and you have like the Everoak tree and like, a lot of the new, and you have the Eeyore ears, I do think playing up some of the, playing up the Winnie the Pooh cast specifically for a build like this is a great option. But I do like the way you have everybody sitting down here. And then you have your indoor scenes. Oh, you got the lighting looking a lot better here. And you brought in Eeyore. Now, this one, you're not going to be as close to the camera, which, breaks away from the meta a little bit. But you highlighted Mochi really well. You have Eeyore relaxing with you. And this is one of the gaming ones I was talking about if you want to do a gaming scene. So I love the way you got the lights set up. It does feel like a nice, lazy, cozy day. Ultimately, they're both good options, maybe here. They both have different pros and cons. This one, very fun, very unique, very, very simple, very easy to understand. Great details on the walls. This one has a bit more going on with like the rainbows and like the multiple villagers, and there's like lots of details. The avatar looks very relaxed in both, which is great. So I think they're both wonderful options. At the end of the day, I don't prefer one over the other. Just depends. Do you want to go with your outdoor concept or do you want to go with your little gaming concept? Very, very well done on the advice, though. You definitely managed to improve both of your shots. So you have two good options. Messy Mothercrafter. I already did my snap completely, and I did an indoor snap. Changed my clothes as well. All right, so this was yesterday's. We talked about the rainy outside versus indoor. It's very tricky to pull off. We did see a great example of that earlier in the week, but you have to structure things in a certain way to get that to work. So now in your new one here, oh, nice. Good little lazy day with the friends. You know, we have Tigger here. We have Pooh here. We have Eeyore here. You guys are watching TV, playing board games, eating popcorn. This is great. Very good storytelling, very good framing. My one recommendation for you messing with other crafter is with your saturation the way it is, with you wearing an all red monster outfit and laying on a giant red pillow, I do love that you're looking over it. It looks like you're showing a funny TikTok to Tigger and he's cracking up about it. Like, I love the storytelling here. I just think you should consider changing the outfit. This is a lot of red on red. I would wear an outfit that stands out on the pillow instead of one that blends in with the pillow. You know, you can go with like a nice cozy PJ or pajamas kind of outfit, showing that you didn't even bother, like, you know, getting dressed for the day. I love that you have the sodas down here. So aside from changing the outfit so you're not blending into your pillow, I also think you have an opportunity right down here. You can use pets, you can use companions, you can do a little pile of books or something. There's all kinds of fun, or toys. There's all kinds of fun things you can put down here in this pocket, and that's just going to help, you know, detail the full shot. But yeah, I love the direction you went into. This is really nice, really nice. Great job with the villagers. Whatever you end up doing, I would stick with this angle and these villager poses. Little Jim is next. So we have yesterday's here. It looks like you pivoted towards more of a ground shot. Well, you wouldn't want all this grass cutting through your board and cutting through your outfit. That's the tricky thing, Little Jim. If you're going to do an outdoor shot, that's why you want like a rug or some kind of platform under you. That way you're not going to get this grass disobeying the laws of physics and just shooting through your board like it doesn't exist. And it's also going to prevent the grass from shooting through your body like it is right now. That's why most of these outdoor snaps that you're seeing have put a rug under the avatar. So let's open Tanya's, right? You see where Tanya is? She's right on top of the rug here. And then also if you put food and other items, it actually tames the grass. If you have other items in those spots. Let's look at Jedi. Look at that. Right on top of a rug. She's got all of her food and things gathered around. Again, you know, making it to where the grass is not breaking through things here. So going back to yours, you'll want to consider that for your, you know, for your outdoor builds if you're going to be sitting in the grass. You got the angle very good and you got the villagers very good, but what we need is something here to eliminate this grass that's kind of disrupting your shot. Might not be completely necessary, but if you look at the high-ranking players and the way they're taming the grass, I do think it is going to make your scene look a lot more clean. And then you have an indoor scene. Now, this one's really cute as well. This one's really fun, but I think you're on a better direction with this one here. I think it feels a lot warmer, and I think the angle is much more on meta. You know, you're much closer to the avatar. You're not up in the air, kind of zoomed out. You're giving a really good look at the full scene, and we even got like a cute hedgehog house back here. My main focus, if I were you, would be to refine the front of this snap so there's not grass shooting through your legs, it's not shooting through the board. You know, voters will appreciate the fact that you took time to refine the snap and make the grass, you know, make sense. Sue Lee is next. I submitted 3 snaps for review. This is the one you thought I should go with. Changed it up some to improve the original. I have tried doing the close-up trick, but just can't seem to get it on. I play on PS5. Oh, it doesn't matter what platform you play on. It works the exact same on all platforms. I got tons of friends that play on PS5 and they do it. So, like I said, it's all about timing. You just got to practice it. I don't have time to really showcase it again today, but we have showcased it a lot. So yeah, if you can't do the close-up, that's fine. You can, again, like I always say, if you can't master the art of the close-up, you know, which for the close-up, it's just, I'll do it. Whoops. Here we go. So we crouch, then we stand up, and then we toggle. That's it. So it works on all platforms exactly the same. I've had people say, I'm on Xbox, and I'm like, I'm literally on an Xbox controller. Now, if you can't do that, if you can't figure that out, or you try and you can't get the timing down, you can always do a close seated shot with free mode. Like, you could always just do it like this. I would encourage you to consider that. You don't have to avoid the meta just because you can't figure out or get the timing down for that whole camera crouch toggle trick. If you can't get that down, then you can just go into free mode and you can just still get right up on the avatar that way. So don't forget about that. Don't forget about this. It's always an option. It's a good fallback. And even if you did that, you would still see like most of this stuff. But yeah, I do like your changes here. The fact that you've made it kind of more of a cozy, relaxing scene where like multiple people are sitting down. Peter Pan back here floating in the air. Stitch like sitting on top of the honey is adorable. I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know they would. Oh, these are the honey stools. Well, yeah, I really like that. Even got Remy in there. So yeah, very solid. The rainbows are really pretty as well. And keep in mind, you don't always have to be close to get 4K. You really don't. There's plenty of shots in 4K that are not close to the avatar. It's just very popular. It's very safe to do. But I've got a ton of dream snaps where I'm not pushing the camera up. Again, it's just a very, very safe concept. Like if you look at, Sunshine here, where she's got the camera pushed up, you see this all the time. It just features like Piglet very well, features Sunshine very well. It's very, very common. Voters tend to eat it up like candy. So that's why it's safe. But this can still do very well because it's super balanced. It's super on theme. It's looking really good. In your free time, when you're not working on another Snap Suli, I would recommend practicing. It works on all platforms. It's not different for anybody. It works on PlayStation the exact way it works for me on PC with a controller. Exact same thing. So I would practice it. I would just, in your free time, I would kind of mess around with it. Because we had somebody yesterday that had their husband do it for them. And then I was like, I hate to tell you this, but you might need to have him do it again because you're going to want to get closer than you are. And they were like, you know what? I didn't even need him. I figured it out. I was able to do it. So they practiced. They tried, and they were able to figure it out. So I encourage you because, the more you're capable of in Dreamsnaps, the more little tricks you can learn, the more camera angles you can work with, the more possibilities you're going to have. But yeah, really good snap here. Great rework. Wonderful job. Kirsty is next. So we had this one from yesterday. Beautiful snap. We talked about a little bit of a risk from facing away. So now we have a new one where she's seated towards the front. I mean, honestly, Kirsty, like I said, you could still go with your option where you're facing away. I just wanted you to be aware of, the fact that some voters, I've definitely heard many people say they prefer snaps with the avatar facing. I've had a lot of conversations with people about this, but also as I pointed out yesterday, I have a rank 2 snap where I'm not facing the camera. So you can definitely do well with them. So if you still want to go with your original concept of sitting here looking this way, you can. Don't, I just wanted to warn you of, the potential or possibility of risk there. The new one is super cute, super fun that we have you seated here, and we do get to see, this like nice casual expression on the avatar, the mild makeup. She does look really good here. So ultimately, it's going to be your call. It's going to be your call which one you want to do. I would say for the seated one, if you're going to face the camera, I love this chair for snaps where we can see a bit more, like in this one, for example, how the chairs are a bit further away. But when you're going to push the camera up and you have the chairs close, I don't like this chair because it's super big. There's some great chairs where you can be even closer and the chair won't be as obstructive. But yeah, either one of these options I think could be really good. Claudia is next. So we have Claudia's from yesterday. I think your advice yesterday, you mentioned that snap didn't quite fit the theme as well, so you said it might be a bit risky. I also got the robot companion, and it's my first time using this pose. Oh, no way! That's awesome. Since I don't like to be risky in Dreamsnaps, I went with the pose. I made 2 versions. Which one is better? Much appreciated. Thank you. So we're going from our pose here to here. Oh, very cute. Very cute. What's the difference here? It looks like... Okay, hedgehog. Okay, so we have one where he's jumping. That's adorable. And then we have one where we have a hedgehog right here by Eeyore's ear. That's super cute. So, the tricky thing... I actually have a good snap for you here. for cross comparison. This is also wide angle, sunshines. You see how close she is to the camera here? And you see how you're kind of tiny in your scene? So, you know, in your original snap, you got the camera pushed up, so it kind of goes past your ankles here, and makes you have a bit more of a stage presence in the snap. Now, the seated snap is really good, but you can't really use the exact same composition that you had if you want to have this one be on meta. The tricky thing with the seated snaps is, in order to make them look really good, to where you're highlighting the avatar just as well as you are in a standing snap, you want to push the camera up, but with a special twist. Now, since you're using the robot pose for the first time, you might not know this little technique. So, if you do the robot pose normally, you're going to be seated like this towards the base of the shot. A little smaller in the shot. And if we stand in front of an item that pushes the camera forward, we can go into selfie mode. We can squat. And then right when we stand back up, we're going to toggle. Oh, you're on keyboard, aren't you? Aren't you on computer? Oh my God, it's going to be so much easier for you. So here's what you have to do. I always use my controller because I'm teaching people how to do it on controller. But for you, all you have to do is C is crouch and stand. So you stand and then you press T, or wait, which is it? Change camera mode, V. So once you're crouched, all you have to do is press C and then immediately press V. So CV. And there you go. Your camera is now on the ground. And you can sit down and you can be very close. Now, here's the tricky thing. If you put the camera on the ground like this, like I'm recommending, if you do the seated pose, I'm doing it with controller again. If you do the seated pose, you're not going to be able to use the same foreground items. Because think about it. When you're standing, right? When you're standing like this, your camera is higher and you're seeing the top of the tables. But if you do the camera trick and a seated shot, and you put the camera on the ground, these tables are going to be really tall and really obstructive. So if you want to go with the lazy day kind of vibe here, with the safer option, my recommendation would be to still play the meta of having the avatar close to the camera. I would still play this meta. Otherwise, it's actually safer to go with your original concept. It would be safer to go with this, I think, rather than this. But the safest of all three of these options would be the one where you do the seated option and you're close to the avatar. But for this, you're going to need to use the little camera trick. And like I said, since you're on mouse and keyboard, it could be super easy for you. All you're going to do is go into selfie mode. C is how you crouch. And then you're just going to... C is crouch and stand up. You're going to stand it in V. So that's going to keep your camera low. But again, you'll have to restructure your foreground for the seated pose. You won't be able to use the same foreground. You'll know what I mean once you get the camera on the ground. But this is going to allow you to, because you have a great pose here with Eeyore, right? If we look at your scene, you have a super cute shot of you petting Eeyore. Imagine this right here, but like this. Like, it's going to be a lot more present. You know, you'll have this will take up a lot more space in your shot. But it is going to require you to kind of restructure the foreground if you want to take that route. If you don't want to take that route, you can just go with the original. And as one last little example here, I was using that same technique here in Forested Book Nook, which is why all the foreground elements I'm using are really short. Like, I can't use tables here. If I had tables, they would come up like about as tall as my avatar, and they would block all that. So for my foreground elements, I have to be very low to the ground with them because I have the camera on the ground. So you could still have like your food displays and such, but you might want to do like, little picnic spreads, or you can do, there's all kinds of things you can do, but the whole when you use the seated pose, your whole camera is going to go down a bit. So if you don't have the time to rework the foreground, because you have to structure the photo to be a seated photo with, unless you want to do the seated photo like this, but it's not as popular as the photos that make use of the ground pose where the avatar plays a more significant role. This is what we see more commonly in the 4K range. But again, your other photo, I think still has a great, I think still very likely for 4K, So if you don't have time for all that, just go with the OG, because it's a very beautiful photo, and I think it has a very good likelihood of 4K. If you do want to play around with it, it's a great time to learn that new seated pose, because there are challenges like this week and like Forested Book Nook, where this pose with getting the camera low is extremely powerful. This is most of what we saw in the 4K range for Forested Book Nook. All right. And yeah, I think it would work really good in your case because the Eeyore pose is going to be super cute. Next up, we got Babbitt. Hi, Sabai. Thank you for your advice. I have added one of the outdoor snaps, trying to incorporate your advice on their expression in the comp snap. I also made indoor variation with poses, color, saturation, brightness. Love your opinion, but I think I agree with you on the indoor snap. First snap is the original indoor you liked. Yeah, the indoor's so fun. I think the wow factor behind this is so good. Ooh, yeah. Very colorful. Lots of good saturation. And this one's super fun, too. Like, these are both really good. I mean, honestly, you can go with either one. This one has a lot of saturation. It's very fun. Still Piglet asking for uppies here. Super cute. And I will say, with the increased saturation and the increased lighting, it does add a lot of warmth to the photo, which I think is really good. For me, it's between the original that you did here, because I love the angle of Pooh, and I love the way you're looking at Piglet here, and the new one here. Like, this one is also very good. This one's great because you have the increased saturation and some really good lighting. But this one has a really good angle on Winnie the Pooh, and I think that's going to impress voters. Honestly, you could go with any of these options. I think have a great shot at 4K. But for the indoors, I would say it's between the first here and the second. Because in the first, it looks like Eeyore's kind of like sad he's losing. Tigger's strategizing. And then in this one, it looks like Eeyore's taking his turn, so he's like up on the table, which is super fun. This one, Pooh's arm is clipping through the tub a little bit, so the Pooh pose isn't quite as good as it here, but you do have great warm color. Really, there's strengths, there's pros and cons to each one, but I truly feel like this indoor scene, I feel like this definitely deserves 4K. It's super fun. Now, this one has a lot of great detail, so if you want to, if you like going with the more large, detailed builds and you feel more comfortable with this, you could always go with this if you want to. Personally, I just love the indoor snaps that you made here. I think this is so unique. It's so creative. I would hope voters like it as much as I do. But overall, very, very well done. Bethany is next. Let's take a look here. So I believe this was yesterday's. I don't have time to read all of the text, guys, but I know what we talked about was the wall colors, and I would also recommend here getting a bit closer to the camera. Looks like we're just as far away as we were yesterday. Like here's an example, same exact pose that you're using, but you see how my knee is touching the bottom of the frame? We allowed the avatar to play a very large role in this scene. So you have the camera pushed kind of down to the ground, but, you're a good bit further away. Now, I do like that you're incorporating more warm colors into your scene, but I would also encourage you to choose walls and windows that kind of work together. I do like the warm colors of the orange back here. That's really fun. And then also, keep in mind, Bethany, we always talk about filling out those bottom left and bottom right corners. You did the bottom right corner here, but, your socks are not quite in the corner here. And we have an outdoor scene as well. Now for the outdoor scene, if you're going to be doing the seated pose thing, I don't know what you're using to push the camera forward, but you got a really big shadow here. So for this one, it might be better to use the third-person camera mode. Keep in mind, when you have the sun behind the camera, it doesn't have to be right behind the camera. Sometimes it's good for the sun to be behind the camera and a little bit to the right. That way, the shadow of what's pushing your camera up goes left. Because we don't want the shadow right on top of us. We don't want the shadow right here. We want it right here. So the sun is still behind the camera, but it's back there. It's behind the camera and to the right. So in your shot here, you have the sun directly behind the camera, which is great for lighting here. But since you're on the ground, you probably notice you have a giant shadow right in the middle of your build. If the shadow was just off to the left or off to the right, wouldn't be as bad. Wouldn't be as impactful there. So maybe instead of pushing the camera up, because you're not even close to the camera, so there's no need for you to even really push it up, you know what I mean? Why not just use free mode? So, you can just use this option here, where you just zoom in. So, if you're going to get a big shadow from an item pushing the camera up, consider this instead. Consider getting close to the avatar with this camera mode where you can zoom in and out. Ims is next. I changed the lighting, added some treats, and changed the pose. Third one is new. Okay. So original here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, two originals. There was this one and this one. This one. But yeah, love the new lighting here. Very good warm light. I love the style of your avatar. Very light makeup, wearing the hair down, very casual kind of fit. I would say, the hot cocoa and like the apple bowl, I think there's much better things you could use here, Ems. There's a lot of good new cocoa bowl meals. The honeyed tea is going to look really good with the Winnie the Pooh scene. I would encourage you to go to the stovetop and just like check out some of the new stuff. You can even look at some of the new recipes online if you want. But there's a few that you make when you do the quest that are really, really cool. Like the honeyed carrots. I mean, I would say instead of the hot cocoa, because it's just a dark brown, and then the bowl of apples with the blue base, I would do more honeyed meals since we're enjoying a pot of honey like Winnie the Pooh, right? You're kind of doing the Winnie the Pooh style approach to this challenge. Let's play up the honeyed meals. I think those would work really well. But overall, very solid changes here. I love that you're reaching out to pet Eeyore. Super cute, super cute. Dysfunction. You suggested trying a sitting pose. I try to do a close-up sitting pose, but not sure if I should be more close-up or if this shot works. Original was with the Husky Companion. New ones, I changed the foreground a bit. Perfect. Well, I'm glad you had the foresight to change the foreground. When you do shift towards a seated pose, you absolutely need to change the foreground. So great job with that. Because the same foreground is not going to work for a standing pose as for a seated pose. So really good job having the foresight to do that. Now, between your two options, they're both good. They're both good. I do think this one has the villagers positioned very nicely where, it's like the perfect little pocket for the three of them. Whereas this one, you have this nice sunset saturation and you're kind of reaching directly for the honeyed milk, which I think is great. I do think this one has more of like a warm and cozy kind of feel thanks to that warm lighting. But this one features the villagers really well. So you could honestly go with either one of these. They're both good options. And I think they're both safer options than yesterday because it feels even lazier and cozier. But the real question is, how do you feel? It's your Dreamsnap. I think the foreground is best in this one, though. I love that you added the honey pots in here. I would try to get a little something in this bottom left corner. Maybe another little honey pot right here. Maybe the standard looking one, the one that looks like a small version of this big one. Like a little honey pot right down here in the corner would be nice. But yeah, if you want my opinion, I would say this one is on the best trajectory here. And we got Donkey next. I fixed the summoning issue. Nice, let's go. Well, that's huge, Donkey. As mentioned yesterday, when it comes to future challenges, being able to utilize who you want to utilize is going to be so helpful. And that's what I want for you. I want you to always be able to pick exactly who you want to pick. So I'm very glad you're able to get that situated. So we have yesterday's snap here. Or no, is this the new one? I think this is new. This looks really good. Oh yeah, this is yesterday's. This looked good too, but let's talk about this. I freaking love Winnie the Pooh down here in the bottom left corner. What a great foreground item. This goes to show you don't always have to use decor for your foreground. You can use villagers. I love the cozy look of your avatar here. Fantastic. And also, it's kind of like with the way you've angled the new shot, it just feels more like a cozy little gathering. It's not as busy. Like in the one yesterday, we have the swirling wind, we have the floating lanterns, we have the kites, we have the butterflies. We have a lot of different colors, and the big tree is kind of here on the right-hand side, so everything's kind of happening in this pocket. And on this new one, we can see a bit. The angle is a bit different here. Hang on. Oh my god, why does it keep closing? I keep hitting it wrong. Actually, I think the angle's not that different. I think what makes it feel different is that you filled out... Oh yeah, because we talked about filling out the skyline, I believe. It's the willow tree that makes it feel so different. It isolates this whole pocket. Also, with Winnie the Pooh being in the foreground with his arms up, he really looks like he's actually being a bear. And Tiana just looks like she's like, oh, bless your heart. Like you think you're a bear. You're like a scary bear. He's like, rawr. I don't know. I just love it. I love this. I love this interaction here. And you just kind of sitting in Pooh's thankful spot, I think is a great place to be. You're stationary. It's relaxing. It feels cozy. We can see the picnic set here. We see the honey here. Yeah, overall, Donkey, I would say very, very solid improvements here. I love how you filled out the skyline, though. And I'll be honest with you. I think this shot of Pooh in the foreground corner is going to do very well. I think people are going to love this because of this. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on, but, like, I freaking adore this right here. Like, I would be so likely to vote for this simply because of Pooh Bear in the corner here. Like, this is such a funny shot of Pooh. Like, I think it's hilarious. And yeah, very good storytelling scene. There is, several villagers here. Like I mentioned before, I do think less is more this week. I think, 3 to 4 villagers is plenty. But since some of the ones you're using are a bit tinier and they are relaxing, like Vanellope's laying on the ground, Stitch is kind of laying on the ground, Tigger's not jumping around, everybody's pretty chill. So, it's got a nice, relaxed, cozy day kind of vibe. Yeah, very solid, Donkey. Great job. Yeah, because I think what we talked about yesterday was when, from this angle, filling out the corner here, and then also, like, closing out the section here. But I gotta say, I'm just, like, really, really impressed with the changes. It just looks really solid. I think you did a great job here. And with that, you guys, I managed to power through the reviews, I think, much faster than I ever have. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I don't want any of you guys to feel like that you didn't get a good review, so I still took a little bit longer than I probably should have, because I still have a lot to do. But thank you guys, thank you. We did have one person that wasn't able to submit on time, so you have more time, but I know you're on a crunch. I am. For whoever was not able to submit on time, I do apologize, but this week is tough for me. I actually was hoping to be done by 7. It's 7:45. I still got to pack. I can't list off all the stuff I have to do because that would just take even more time. So I got to skedaddle. I will see you guys on Monday. Thank you so much for the amazing week this week. Oh, and for the person who was not able to get a review, if you're watching, DM me your snap. Send it to me on Discord. Once I get everything done, maybe I could take a look at it tonight. It's a long shot. I don't know for sure if I'll be able to look at it, but if I get stuff done and am I in good shape, I will take a look at your snap and I'll DM you back. And maybe if you want to make more changes, you can work on it in the morning. So, whoever was not able to submit on time, you can shoot it to me in a DM. I just won't be able to review it on stream. It was Lisa, just so you know who to look out for. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Ash. Appreciate it. Yeah. Lisa, you can DM me your snap, and I can't make any promises, but Fallen Angels would have them posted in the Facebook group. We can help. Oh yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, Lisa, you can always share it to the Dreamsnap Hub. Pretty much, I would say most of the people in that group, have been watching the stream for a while, and they have a pretty good understanding of what my advice typically is. So that's also a great option. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much. It's gonna be weird not seeing you guys for a few days. I will be back Saturday. And we will return to streaming on Monday. So I fly out early tomorrow morning, and I'll be in Florida until I think I'll be back sometime Saturday evening. And then I'll have a day to decompress on Sunday, and then it's right back to the grind on Sunday. When I do return, I'm going to get back on YouTube videos. I'm sorry we did not do a Dreamsnap guide last week or this week. Like I said, we had the new expansion. We streamed much longer hours for that. We were very busy with the Twitch drops, and then this week I'm leaving, so there won't be a Dreamsnap tip video this week, but I can't wait to get back in them because it feels weird missing 2 weeks after doing 27 weeks in a row of Dreamsnap videos. So I also have a lot of other videos I want to work on. But yeah, with GoFest and everything going on and the traveling, it's been very, very busy. But thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for all the love and support. It's been an absolutely amazing couple of weeks. And none of this would be possible without you guys. I'll see you all. I'll keep you updated on Facebook and Discord, so keep an eye there. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and stay healthy. Thank you for the amazing, amazing week, and we'll see you soon.